Close the doors of your mind from all carnal will, all carnal thought, all emotions, all desires, all fears, all laziness, all doubt. Anything in your mind, in the center of your mind, that does not allow you to come to balance within your seat of emotions and passions, within your seat of appetites. Desire the sincere milk of the word, the bar that you may grow thereby. Desire the word more than your necessary food. So today is the day of freedom. Today is the day of warning. Today is the day that Yahuwah has made for the people who will acknowledge him as the Elohim who created the Shamayims, the Shabat Yum, and the earth. He gave us a day of rest to acknowledge him and to celebrate him. The one who sits in the highest Shamayim on the throne, the one who sent his Ben Yahusha and created him by his voice that he spoke. And he spoke into the Adar as a seed planted inside of the earth and created the very foundation that one stands on, the very foundation that one sits on, the very atoms that forms the chairs and the couches and the tables that one sits on. Yahuwah Elohim, who gives and who takes away, who wounds, who kills, who makes alive, who allows us to live and to breathe his neshama, his ruach, in the earth. For if he took all breath from the earth, no flesh would survive. For the rule blows where it wishes, and goes where it wants. You hear the sound, but you do not know which way it goes. So are they that are born by the Ruach HaKodesh. So we give acknowledgement to the one who made the Renzori mountains, the one who created the Andes mountains, the one who created the Zangji'i mountains, the one who formed the K2 mountains and the Appalachian mountains, the one who formed the Utah mountain range, the one who formed the canyons and the Grand Canyons, the one who formed and shaped the Marianas Trench and the whirlpools under South Africa, the one who formed the Renzori Mountains and allowed the water to flow down into the rivers and the streams, the one who gave life to us, gives breath and creates the worlds of the animals and the plants and the trees and the network of trees that communicate interconnectedly through vibration and sound, vibrational frequency. Yahuwah Elohim, whose love and compassion and Ahab allows us to live this Yom. So let love reign in your mind and allow all the seeds of Satan to be cast down, every imagination and thought within one's mind. For today, we will pay attention. Today we will give heed. Today we will rejoice and be zealous. And if one is found guilty, one will repent and be joyful and give thanks. For Yahuwah reveals the secrets within one's mind. Within one's mind. So this Yom, we move forward in compassion. We move forward in humility. We move forward in forgiveness and mercy, in kindness, ahab, joy, peace, patience, shalom, patience, meekness, temperance, amuna, and most of all, ahab, love, fikri, libeh, amor, ahambu, love, ahab, ahaba, which binds everything in perfect completeness and perfectness, even as a tree pours out, gives leaves for the healing of the nations. So this is Wisdom of Solomon, ODE 8 and 8. It says, hear the word of truth. For you got to Shema, you got to hear the word of the Amat, and receive the knowledge of Yahuwah. Receive the knowledge of Yahuwah. For your flesh may not understand that which I'm about to say to you. So we look at our flesh, our natural man, the person we look in our mirror that can make us forget what manner of Ish or Ishar or man or woman we were, or child. Yes, that flesh that you see in the mirror is not who you are. It's a physical representation of who you are. But the real person is on the inside, needing to be nurtured and fed. So it says, which I am about to say to you, your garments, that which it says, your flesh may not understand that which I'm about to say to you, nor your garments, that which I'm about to declare to you. So Look at our garments, look at the clothes we wear, our outward appearance and the things that we wear. These things are not what comprehends what's spoken, the sound vibrational frequency that goes inside of the human body. They don't comprehend these things. It's your inward man, your physical nafash, your inward soul that comprehends it. Verse 10 says, keep my mystery, you who are kept by it. So those who are kept by the mystery, he said, keep it. He said, kept by it. Keep my amunah, you who are kept by it. So mystery and amunah, those who are kept by it. The mystery of the knowledge, binah kukma da'af, that passes all understanding. That passes all understanding that anyone can get. Verse 11 says, and understand my knowledge, you who know me in truth. Love me with affection. Aha, love with affection. When affection, like when you love somebody, it's a certain type of love. You give love and affection. That's a care. That's a caress. That's an action. It's a continual motion. Love me with affection. You who love, those who have love and a heart on their heart. Love the word. Love the Adar. Love those who love the Adar. Love those who love Yahuwah. Love those who love Yahushua Mashiach. Love those who love. Love your enemies. Do good to those who despitefully use you. Right? Verse 12 says, for I turn not my face from my own, because I know them. Yahuwah knows his people, those who are kept by the mystery, those who keep his amunah, and those who have ahab, love. The ones who love their neighbor as they love themselves. The ones who love ahaba, fikri, amor, ambu, libe, right? 13 says, and before they had existed, I recognized them and imprinted a seal on their faces. Before the world was even formed, before you was even born, before you, like Yirmiyahu, he said, before you was even born in your mother's womb, I knew you. Before you was even born in your mother's womb, Deborah, I knew you. Before you was even born in your mother's womb, Huda, I knew you. Before you was even born in your mother's womb, Rakal, I knew you. Before you was even born in your mother's womb, Sarah, Abraham, I knew you. Before you was even born in your mother's womb, Yahushua Mashiach, I knew you. Right. Verse 13 says, and before they had existed, I recognized them and imprinted a seal on their faces. I fashioned their members, and my own breasts I prepared for them. You think about a mother when her child, and she has a breast, and if a child is born, when you start thinking about a child who gets nurturing from a mother, when a child comes into the world, right, he looks at you the same exact way. That he said that they might drink my kudush or kudash milk and live by it. Right? So we look at the word, desire the sincere with the bar, the milk that you may grow, that you may live by it. Kai, by it. He says, for my work are they and the power of my thoughts. You ever thought about something that you created, that you wanted, you created before you even created it, but yet you knew it in your thoughts what you were going to have? That's the same way Yahuwah feels about you. Those who are under the sound of his voice and those who have the opportunity to partake, right? So this is Psalms 51:10. Tahalim 51:10. Oh, come, O children, listen to me. I will teach you the fear of Yahuwah. Right? And we say, Yahushua said, what? Come unto me all that are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon me and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly, and you shall find rest for your souls. Right? That's why Yahushua says, come, O children, except you humble yourself like a child, you will never enter the kingdom or the Malkut. That's why he says, come. He says, what man is there who desires life and loves many days, that he may see good? Keep your tongue from evil. The words that one speaks. Abracadabra, like they say, like the magicians and the sorcerers say, those who learned the magic arts from Ham and those who learned it from Malachi, the fallen. Yes. The words you speak come to life. Right? It is, and lips from speaking deceit. Right? So speaking ra, what? Speaking lies and falsehood. Speaking untruths. Lips of deceit. What is deceit? Sneaky, cunning, crafty ways to get one to go away from the one who nurtures with Kudush milk. the one trying to speak in deceit to get one who keeps Amunah and mysteries to not keep them anymore. It says, turn away from Ra and do good. Turn away from evil and do good works. Do good. But how are you going to know what Ra is? You have to be taught what Ra is, because you know what evil is. Evil is Ra, right? Bad, malignant. We went over it many times. Evil desire, evil purposes, pleasure, right? All these are all aspects of it. This isn't good. Seek shalom and pursue it, peace. Seek shalom and peace, and pursue peace amongst every person in your life, amongst every single individual and every person in your life. Why? Because the eyes of Yahuwah are toward the righteous, those who he nurture and care, the ones he know, and those who are keeping a mystery, and those who have Amunah and faith. It says, and his ears are toward their cry. The face of Yahuwah is against those who do evil, to cut off the memory of them from the earth. Right? So you think about the memory of it. Just like you look about your mind and you have memories and thoughts. Yahuwah does not like evil and Ra. Right? So therefore, if he's in your thoughts, you shouldn't like it either. And you need to cut off the memory of it from your earth, from your body. Right? So this is Wisdom of Solomon, Kukum Shli Shaloma, 6:12 through 25. It says, wisdom is glorious, kabod, and never fadeth away. Yea, she is easily seen of them that love her, and found of such as seek her. Love and seek. Aha, she preventeth them that desire her, in making her herself first known unto them. Just like a woman, right, who knows the value and knows how to not let people in her life. Right, or just like any other, a man does the same thing. He said, I'll make myself first known unto them. He said, whoso seeketh her early shall find no great travail. So you think about what time you're getting up in the morning. What time is one getting up in the morning? Is one up before the sun comes out of the portal, or is one still down? It says, for he shall find her sitting at his doors. When people say, why? The doors of your mind. It'll be sitting right at your door, depending on what time you get up. It's right there in your face, right? Verse 15 says, to think upon her is perfection of wisdom. To think upon Kukma is perfection of wisdom. Just like you think upon things in your life and you're trying to perfect something in your life, to constantly think on it, on Kukma and wisdom, is perfected. It says, and whoso watches for her quickly will be without care. Right? Watch unto prayer, that you may not fall into temptation. Pray, right? Watch, right? Verse 16, for she goeth about seeking such that are worthy of her. Yahuwah seeketh those, right? Just like in Yochanan 4 and 20, right? He says, neither on this mountain nor on that mountain you shall worship Yahuwah. He said, in the last day, he said the mountain of Yahuwah is going to be established at the top of the mountains. But he also says, they that worship Yahuwah are going to worship him in Ruach and in truth. In Yochanan 4, and he says what? The Father seeketh such to worship him. He says, for she goeth about seeking such that are worthy of her, showeth herself favorably unto them in the ways, and meeteth them in every single thought processes, right? How one processes information, right? So this is Sirach chapter 1, 2 through 21. Who can number the sand of the sea? Can you number the sand of the sea? It's a lot of them. You can hold it in your hand, you can hold it, and you can hold it in your hand, you can grasp it, and some spill out. And then it falls on the sand, and you try to count those. You can't count those either. And it says, and the drops of rain. So when you're in your car, and the rain drops on your windshield, and it smacks, and you see those little drops of rain on your windshield, those little drops of rain, how many can you count before it dries up? It says, and the days of eternity. Can you count the days of eternity? Who can find out the height of the Shamayim? Can you find out the height of Shabat Shamayims? And the breadth of the earth? And of the deep? And wisdom. Can you do that? Wisdom have been created before all things. Before everything you see, Kukma was created. Before anything you hold. Any sand you hold. Any money you hold. Any car keys you hold. your wife that you hold, before your husband you hold, or from anything that you even grabbed. He said wisdom was there before that, before a mountain you walked on, before a plane you got on. He said wisdom was already there. It says, wisdom has been created before all things, and understanding of prudence from everlasting. The word of Yahuwah Most High is the fountain of wisdom, and his ways are everlasting commandments. Everlasting. Verse 6 says, to whom hath the root of Kukma been revealed? Or who have known her wise counsels? Unto whom have knowledge of wisdom been manifest? And who hath understood her great experience? Who have? There is one wise and greatly to be feared. There's only one. Yahuwah sitting on his throne. He created her and saw her and numbered her and poured her upon all his works. She is with all flesh according to his gifts, and have given her to them that love him. He said, I will never turn my face in my love. I will always have my eyes upon the righteous. Those who keep Amunah, those who love me, those who love. He given to them, those who have a heart. This is Qahalath 7:9. Wisdom is the strength of the wise, more than 10 rulers which are in the city. So you look at all the rulers, any ruler, or how you say rulers in the city. Kukma is stronger than that. That's why Nelba, as we spoke about before, held his peace, while Isabel and all the elders and the rulers at Yasharal brought up many false witnesses against him, and he held his peace. He said it's more stronger than 10 rulers in the city. Right? And amazingly, you look at 10 men giving their power to one man. You talk about how many wisdom, how wise one has to be, and how strong it is. Right? Proverbs 8:8-11 says, all the words of my mouth are righteous, and there is nothing twisted or crooked in them. They are all straight to him who understands, him or her, or child. Even Yahushua was 12 years old. He answered and asking questions. Right? And right to those who find knowledge. Seek and ye shall find, in love. Take my instructions instead of silver, instead of dust, and knowledge rather than gold, instead of dust. For a kukma is better than jewels. Of course it is. It was created before anything you see or hold in your hand. And all that you may desire cannot compare with wisdom and knowledge and understanding. Ain't nothing. You can't compare it. You can't compare it. So the word for crooked is ikesh, or akish. Distorted, false, crooked, forward, perverse. There's nothing distorted, false, crooked, or perverse that comes out of Yahuwah's mouth. It is pure, righteous, and it is love. The word for straight is nakuak. It means straightforward, equitable, correct, integrity, uprightness, innocence, right? They are all innocent. They are all equitable, correct, integrity, upright to those who understand. You understand it? It is like it's like having $quintillion in your bank account. Seriously. Or in your mind. Tahalim, Psalms 1:11-10. The fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of wisdom. See? He gives it to those who fear him and those who have love. It's the beginning of wisdom. So the beginning of wisdom was before fear was even created. So you start looking at the fear of Yahuwah is the beginning of that wisdom that you desire. It says, and all those who practice it, you practice being scared or being fearful of your mother and father in the highest Shamayim, and over the household. Shamayim is my throne, the earth is my footstool. What house will you build for me? You have a good understanding. His praise endures forever. His praise, praise of him endures forever. Praise for oneself, praise for other things, other people, other things. Guess what? It only endures temporary. It's only temporary. A praise for another God, Elohim, is only temporary. So this is wisdom of Solomon, 3:9-13. It says, they that put their trust in Yahuwah, trust in him, shall understand the truth. Trust him. And such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For Khan and mercy is to his Kadashim, and he hath care for his elect. He hath care for those who he know. He give them to drink the Kadush milk that they may live by it. But verse 10, but the unrighteous shall shall be punished according to their own imaginations, which they have neglected the righteous, and forsaken Yahuwah. It says, for whoso despises wisdom and nurture, he, she, man, woman, child is miserable, and their hope is vain. Now keep this in mind, their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. That is the most important thing out of that whole verse. It says, verse 12 says, their wives are foolish, and their children wicked. That's a whole generation of people. Their offspring is cursed. Right? These generational curses are only here because of one reason and one reason only, because people don't keep mystery, amunah, and they don't have love in their heart. And they don't want the milk of the word that they may what? Live by it. So this wisdom of Solomon, 7:6-14. For all men have one entrance into life, and the light going out. Wherefore I prayed, and understanding was given to me. I called upon all, and the ruach of wisdom came to me. I preferred her before scepters and thrones, esteemed riches. Nothing is in comparison to her. Before thrones, esteemed riches, all that's dust. Neither compare I her to any precious stone. I'm gonna hold wisdom in my hand and charge me a crystal in the moon. Why would you hold that and say that's greater than wisdom? Why would you hold and say that's better than Yahuwah's word? He says, neither I compare her to any precious stone, because all gold in respect of her is as little sand. Just like you can't count the sand that you hold in your hand. You ever grab something, go on the mountain and see, go on the mountain or the beach or the sand. You see how much stuff out there? Mesmerized. You can't even number them all by name. Yahuwah know them all by name. All the sand on the ground, all the rock peaks. It says, and the silver shall be counted as clay to her. Verse it says, I loved her above health and beauty, and chose her instead of light. For the ore that cometh from her never goes out. It never leaves. The light that comes from wisdom never goes out. You can start looking at a man or a woman having light on the inside. Your ore, your light should never go out. It should never go out. Man, it should be like these examples, Krispy Kreme donuts, right? The light's still on. It stay on. Guess what? Everybody get happy. They put a smile on their face every time they see the light, or they see some other things out here, right? They say, keep the light on. Right? Or you see your favorite place to go eat at, or a place and you see the light still on in the restaurant, you be like, woo, it's still open. And you get that late. Right? It says, all good things together came to me with her, and innumerable riches in her hand. And I rejoiced in them all, because wisdom goeth before them. And I knew not that she was the mother of them before any of these things were created. I learned diligently and do communicate her liberally. I do not hide her riches, for she is a treasure unto men that never faileth, which they that use become the friends of Yahuwah Elohim. People say, you're my friend unto the end, right? People say, I want him to be my friend. Desire wisdom and knowledge and understanding before all that. He said, Yahuwah only wants people who have wisdom and knowledge and understanding to be his friends. You my friend. Because like Mashah, when he was getting ready to destroy the children of Yasharal, he said, get down here, I'm going to consume them real quick. And Mashah, because of his wisdom and knowledge and understanding, talked him down. You're a friend of Yahuwah. That's what friends do. When you get upset, when you're getting ready to do something that you ain't supposed to do, that you shouldn't do, friends come and talk you down and stop you and become a peacemaker. Right? It says, being commended for the gifts that come from learning. From learning. Their gifts in the time. Right? They come from learning. Right? So this is ODE 7, Solomon. My joy is in Yahuwah, and my course is toward him. This way of mine is beautiful. It's Yafa. Right? It's beautiful. For there is a helper for me. Huh? He said, there's a helper. Yahuwah has generously shown himself to me in simplicity because his kindness has diminished his grandeur. He became like me that I may receive him in form. He considered like me that I may put him on. And I trembled not when I saw him, because he was gracious to me, or kind to me. Like my nature he became, that I might understand him, and like my form that I made, is that I might not turn away from him. The father of knowledge is the word of knowledge. He who created wisdom, Kukma, is wiser than his works. That's why he created wisdom. So of course he's wiser than everything he created through wisdom. But you know, the things and the beings that were created through wisdom, they think they are wiser than the one who created wisdom. Today, in 2023 AD. It says, he who created me when I yet was not knew what I would do when I came into being. On account of this, he was kind to me in his abundant kind, and allowed me to seek from him and to benefit from his sacrifice. How many people know about his sacrifice? We're going to learn about a part of it. For he it is who is incorruptible, the perfection of the worlds, and their Father. Right. So this is Yakaziel, Ezekiel 36 and 23. He says, and I will vindicate my Kadush. I will vindicate the Kudash. He said, I will vindicate the Kudash of my great name, right? And sanctify my great name, right? Which has been profaned among the Goyim nations, and which have profaned among them, I'm sorry. And the nations will know that I am Yahuwah, declares Yahuwah all, when through you, and you person, I will vindicate my Kadush. I will sanctify or Kudash before their eyes. And I will take you from the nations and gather you from all the countries and bring you into your own land. And I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you shall be clean from all your uncleanness, and from all your idols I will cleanse you. And I will give you a kadashah, right? A lave, or heart, or a new heart, and a new, or a kadashah, ruach, spirit. And I will put, or a karab, within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh, and give you a heart of flesh. I'm going to make you tender-hearted. Because there's a reason why a man, Ish and Isha, or in a child, Yalad, has to be tender-hearted. And I will put my ruach within you, and cause you to walk in my statutes, or kok, and be careful to obey my mishpat, judgments, for your life. Why? So you're going to put a new one in you. A new ruach, a new spirit, new heart, new everything. You ever had a car, and you get into it, and it's a brand new engine, brand new smell, and you riding down the road, and it has a brand new engine and everything. You ain't never drove it before. The excitement of it, to know that this is actually coming home with me. Well, just understand, if you get a new heart, a new ruach, and he put it within you, and he take the heart of stone and you your heart of flesh, that's like you having a new car, riding down the road, or walking down the road. Kum halak. And the excitement to know that you have a new way of living. Because when you have that new car, it's a new way of living. Like, it's a new experience when you're riding down. Right? People walk by, they look at you. They be like, man, look at that. And that's the same way one has to look at one individual when you get this new heart, new mind, this new ruach. They be like, who is that? What is that? What kind of car is that? Right? So the word for new is kadashah, or kadash. It means new thing, fresh. If you say, I go to the store, give me some fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, man, it's just fresh, new, right? New, fresh, right? Something new, right? When you're talking about the movie, new thing, right? So the word for ma or lave, how you say a new heart is lave, or I'm gonna give you a new inner man, a mind, a heart, a new way of understanding, inner parts, in the midst of heart, in your memory, new memories, destroying the old memories and putting on new memories. Inclination, resolution, the way you resolve things, your resolution, your appetite, the way you eat, your seat of emotions, and I'm going to give you a new way of your thinking about your seats and emotions and passions. I'm going to give you a new heart, understanding, a new way of attention, right? Right? It also means to determine, consider. It also means brokenhearted, right? Because in order for you to get a new one, you got to break the old one. I give you a heart of flesh, I got to break the stone. I got to break the stony heart, right? So the word for judgments is mishpat. See, I'm going to cause you to walk into my judgments. Mishpat, that's judgments, justice, ordinance, because He's going to put a soft heart in you. I'm going to cause you to walk in my judgments for your life. Because Yahuwah is getting a lot of judgments on the earth, and people ain't walking in their judgment. That's the part. That's the problem. Yahuwah is giving judgments, but people ain't walking in the judgments, right? And it says judgment, justice. It's not injustice, but real justice in the earth. Judgment, act of deciding a case, seat of judgment, litigation, time of judgment, a verdict, justice, right, privilege. That's what the mishpat is. He's giving you a judgment on your life to where you're going to walk in it. He said, I will never turn my face away from those who I know. And I gave my Kadush milk that they may live by it. So the word for within is karab. You think about kareb or karab, it means midst of, inner parts, middle, inward parts, physical sense, a seat of thought and emotions. Faculty of thought and emotions. When you think about the energy that's on the inside, the energy that's inside of the mind, inside, in between the eyes, the frontal lobe. The energy that's in the midst of two eyes. The energy that's in the midst of two cheekbones. Your nose and your mouth. The energy that's in the midst of two ears. Or bane, in between. Like, these are all aspects of yourself. Your inner parts. Your corpus callosum, your left and right brain, with your corpus callosum in the midst of your brain. Right? If we just said, where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. Right? There am I in the midst. To allow both hemispheres of your brain to interconnect and communicate with each other. Right? This is, the word for statutes is kok, or statutes, ordinances, something prescribed task, prescribed do, something to do. Because we need something to do. People say, what do you mean, kok? I'm going to call you walk in my mishpat and my judgment, something to do. Prescribed tasks. We all have prescribed tasks on the earth. He said, I give you prescribed tasks, something to do. Allotment, boundaries, condition. Right? I give you something to do. That's what a statute is, something to do. Because most people ain't got nothing to do. But that's the whole point. Right? We don't want to be, how you say, don't want to forsake the righteous and Yahuwah, right? You'll be miserable, right? Because you ain't got nothing to do. Right? This is Bereshit 1:26. And Elohim said, let us make Adam, right, in our Salim, after our Damuth, or likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of Shamayim, and over the livestock, and over all the Adats, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So Yahuwah Elohim created Adam in his own image. In the image of Yahuwah, he created him. Male, Zakar, and female, Nakubah. He created them. Them. Right? Male and female, them. Right? Right? So you look at, Amar, Elohim, right? The Shema, right? The Shema Adam, right? You have this, right? Basalim, right? Damus, right? Right? So you start looking at creating his image and his likeness. And we start looking at being created in his image and likeness. That means we have what he just said. And let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of Shamayim, over the heavens, over the Shamayims, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. That's a statute. That's a statute. That's something to do. That's a statute. That's how you say, a statute. A code for your life. Ish, male, female, right? That's a statute. So the word for male is a car. It means remembered. Remember this. Because you're supposed to remember these in your mind. You gotta remember this. You gotta get back to memory. They say restart your memories. Because we're supposed to destroy the old memories and get the new memories. New heart, new mind, new spirit, new understanding. Guess what? You have that word, you got remembered. Then you have male. Then you have what? Of man and animals. Right? Of noteworthy, and it says they have sex in here, but then it says child. Yahushua says, humble yourself like a child, you will never enter into Malkuth. He's giving these children something to do. He gave them statutes. Right? Gave them things to do. Right? The word for female is nakubah. Right? Nakubah, right? It means female, female child. Female. He said, my children, receive the word of truth. That we just read about. My children, receive it. He said, and it says what? Female woman, right? Female, woman, female. Right? If you don't know what a male and a female is, then you might want to ask your teacher or your parents. You should know that. Right? How you say nakubah, right? Maybe not know the other word in Hebrew, a Hebrew word for it, but nakubah, right? Male child, female child. They have statutes. Though they have fish seed, let them have dominion. Fish the seed, fowls of every creeping thing, and over all the earth. That's your statute. That's something to do. So word for likeness and image, right? Likeness is damuz. That means similar to, in likeness of, like as your father. Because that's who created his image. This is how your father is. He has stuff to do. So I give you stuff to do. Resemblance, model, shape. Right? Look at the shaping of a model. Right? They have, you see them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. They have shapes, they have models, fitness models, clothing models. He's telling you to be on that same level as far as your appearance in his image and likeness. He's telling you the fashion likeness, manner similar to your standards are higher now. Yeah, I give you a new heart. Or kadashah leib, kadashah ruach. I give you a new heart, new mind. Took that stony heart and softened it. And now I'm telling you to live up to my standards as your father and mother. Just like you're in a household and your mother and your father tell you live up to the standards of the house. My father was a doctor. Your father was a doctor. Your mother was a lawyer. Right? You have to live up to the standard, whatever they were. Now you see Yahuwah, he created all things by Kukma and wisdom. He formed their shape, every single molecule, proton, electron, neuron, quark, molecule. So what do you think standard you got to live by? In your thoughts, in your mind, and in your body and your physical health. He's literally shaped your whole life. He said, I'll give you something to do. So it says figures resembling, form, right? All these are all aspects of oneself, right? So the word for salim is what? The word for image is salim, right? It means image. Right, of course they got tumors and mice and heathen gods, right? Those images that one can make, right? You got mice because that's what you think about the rat race of today. It won't allow you to be in the image and likeness of Yahuwah. Ain't no way, because they have you trapped in their image and likeness. Why? Because you ain't gonna be in their image and likeness. You can have no time to exercise, work out. You ever see people who are doing mice, right? Doing the rat race? What do? They always try to, I don't know, I gotta get off work and get to the gym, or I gotta get off work and go run. I gotta get off work and go do this and extra work. They ain't got no time. I can't be in his image and likeness. I can't be authority of the fish, sea, fowls of every creeping thing, the animals, and all the earth. I don't have time for that. Right? Empty, resemblance. Right? It also means illusion. It says, hence, a representative. So who you're representing? A figurehead of the cosmos, a highest shamayim. You are a figurehead, man and woman, male and female. Zakar nakubah. It also means an idol, just like you see today. People worship idols, American idol worshiping, gods, goddesses, wood and stone. Can't hear, speak, or talk, but they trying to make a way for them to hear, speak, and talk. They got illusions of hologram cities, right, coming. right? You got image, vain show, right? It's all an outward show, right? An image, right? So when we start looking at our image and likeness, you look at who we are on the inside, you think about image and likeness, and then you look at an image and likeness on the outside. He said, picture within and without. Just like you do the shulchan or the ark. You do it within and without. Same thing. Right? So this is the word for man is Adam. So when you have male and female joined together, they create Adam. They create Adam. Two becoming one. You create Adam. When they're separate, they're two different beings. When they come together as one, they're Adam. Let them have dominion over the fish, sea, fowls, and every creeping thing. They have to be together in order for this to work, for the statute to be executed properly. So the word for Adam is man, mankind, man, human being. Frequently, Adam, first man, right? Human being, individual, right? It's like two becoming one. It's like the cartoon with Goku, fusion. Two becoming one. They become Gotenks or Goten. Are you two, each and each child, Nakuba, mind, with the thought process of the Bereshith, leaving Mashiach coming one, that's Adam. Yeah, you become Adam. Strengthen the blood. Right? So the word, so we got Bereshith 2, 28, 30 through 31. 28, Bereshith 1, 28 through 31. And all Yahuwah baraked them, and Yahuwah said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it. So that means that's something else to do. It goes statute. And have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the Shamayim and over every living thing that creeps upon the earth. Most people scared of birds. How you scared of birds? You scared of fish. People scared to swim. They scared to jump in the water and go underwater and look at fish. You say what? You can learn how to swim. You can learn how to take care of birds. You can learn how to be a bird tamer. You can learn how to jump in the water and swim at the bottom of the ocean and swim in the sea. All you gotta do is hold some air inside of you. Right? Don't panic. Right? All these are all aspects of what? Being created in His image and likeness. He said, but fear have torment. They that fear cannot be made perfect. Oh, you mean in His image and likeness? Because He said, even in Matthew 5:48, He says, be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father is perfect. Huh? Yes, people. And He said, and all Yahuwah said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed. So then now He done give you all these statutes and everything you're supposed to do. Take care of yourself, your body, your mind, your thoughts, all these things. He gave you all these things to do. Now He's telling you to give you some food to eat. So you tell me I got to do that too? He's like, yeah, I gave you something else to do. It's a statute. And Yahuwah said, behold, I've given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the Adar, and every tree with seed in its fruits. You shall have them for food. So now I give you that. So you tell me I got to do that, and that? People think, oh, fish of the sea, this is Avatar. The new Avatar, you jump in the water, you swim in the water with animals and become interconnected with the fish again? You mean like being connected to the soil and nature again? Yes. Swimming with dolphins? Yes. And subdue it? Dominion? Yes. And it says, that is on the face of the earth. And every tree with seed in its fruit, you shall have them for food. And every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the Shamayim, and to everything that creeps on the earth, and everything that has breath of life, I have given every green plant for food. So Yahuwah even giving the animals plants to eat. You know, people feeding the animals, they feed the kibbles and bits. Bacon, right? Feeding them all types of other animals and throwing a big giant meat thing to his face. You probably feeding the animals plants. But being at their appetite, it's like giving a child McDonald's. You give a child McDonald's, you give them a Happy Meal or something, they're gonna want that for the rest of their life. Who responsible for that? So who responsible for all these animals eating what they're eating today? Who responsible for what their people eat today? Who responsible for what their children eat today? Who responsible for the knowledge and understanding and wisdom that people have today? Right? It says it creeps on the earth, and I have given every plant for food, and it was so. And all Yahuwah saw that everything that he had made, this is what he wanted. He wanted people to swim. He wanted people to have authority over animals, the fish of the sea, jumping in the water. He wanted people to be fruitful and multiply. He wants you to have authority of fish of the sea, follow every creeping thing. He wants you to have soft and tender heart. He wants you to love and walk in his Kiddush milk. This is a part of his Kiddush milk. People are like, this ain't Kiddush milk. This ain't got nothing to do with his Kiddush milk. He said, live by this. People scared to jump in the river. They scared a snake gonna come get them. They scared of some fish gonna swim by their leg. People scared people scared. What y'all afraid of? Nah, it's because you fear. He said, when you start fearing the one who made everything, then you understand he will never turn his face to them he loved. Right? He says what? And it was so. And Elohim saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day, or Shabat Yum. So the word for fruitful is parah. It means bear fruit, to bear fruitful branch of, to bear fruit, to cause to bear fruit. So cause somebody else to bear fruit. Once you bear fruit, cause somebody else to. This is like tree that's interconnected outside. They call it sound vibration of freaking interconnectivity of a tree network. The love and caress of another tree allows another tree to stay alive. And when they're interconnected in a community of trees, it says to make fruit, to show fruitfulness and bear fruit. It also means the primitive root to bear fruit, literally. Right? To bear fruit. The fruit of the lips. He's talking about some speak. Open your mouth and speak. Fruit of the lips. Songs, singing, rejoicing. A lively tree. Right? A kaya, like they say. Right? So the word for multiply is rabah. Keep that word in mind. Rabah. It means to become great. You read all those things he told one to do. Subdue it. All these things. He said, you become great. Become many. So he wants it to multiply, this mindset to multiply. He wants this mindset to multiply, to become much, to become numerous, of people and animals, to grow great, right? He wants it to increase. People say increase. He wants your mind to increase. You never be unfruitful in the knowledge of Yahuwah and his Ben Yahusha. He put on the supernatural divine nature, or the supernatural being. Supernatural, right? Great. Make enlarge, right? To increase. Authority. Be an authority. To be an authority. Excel. Exceed. So if you ain't trying to be an authority, excel, or exceed, you're in the, how you say, you're listening to the wrong Elohim. He say, this is the wrong person, right? And he says, what? He says, multiply, nourish, plenty. Right? So the word for male and female is malay. He told them to be fruitful and multiply, right? It says what? Malay, to fill the earth. That word for fill. And when you look at that word for fill the earth, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, it's malay or malah. Right? If you take out the vowels, right? Malay, right? Fullness, to fill. To be full, to be accomplished, to concentrate. He said concentrate, that's like meditation, Hagar, right? Concentrate, right? To be accomplished, right? Complete, confirm. Right? Even Yahusha confirmed it what he was going to do. By many infallible proof, by proof. I'll show you proof. Can you swim? I'll show you proof. Can you swim with an animal? I'll show you proof. Can you go to the center of the earth? I'll show you proof. Can you rise from the dead? I'll show you proof. Do you get pierced in your hands and your nails? I'll show you proof. Man, you can't run that fast. I'll show you proof. You got authority to fish, sea, fowls, every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth? I'll show you proof. And over all the earth, I'll show you proof. Right? So this is word for plants, right? Every plant is for food is aseb, right? It means herb, herbage, grass, green plants, herbs, glisten plants, right? Vegetation, herbage. You know, most people don't like green plants. And, you know, they trained us to eat a certain way. They trained us to eat in certain capacities. Green plants, plant-based, plant food, mangoes. You know, they got like almost seven different types of mangoes in some countries, or 7 different types of bananas in some countries. They even got black-seeded bananas. They got spine. They got spine-type fruit. They have green insides. They got all types of fruit. Right, you got apples, black apples, right? You got thorn bushes, thornberries, blackberries, raspberries. They have all types of things, right? So the word for seed is zarah. Every plant and seed, right? Zarah. To scatter, to sow, seed, producing, yielding seed. To be sown, to become pregnant. Yeah, you become pregnant too. To sow seed. He say, what do you mean? When you be eating fruits and vegetables, you eat that seed, and you eat other seeds, or a woman takes in the seed and has a child, and all these things all coincide to growth. It takes away sin. You be like, what do you mean? The desires of sin. When you walk into these statutes and commandments, it's taking away the desires of sin. It starts taking it away because now I'm taking away that stony heart, and I give you a heart of flesh. And you see how much damage one has done to all of the things you were supposed to have dominion over. It means disseminate, to plant, it says to fructify, to bear, conceive seed, to sow, sowing. It means offspring, descendants, moral quality, fruit, plant. Right? It's fruits, right? Soursop, right? Cilantro, spinach, radishes, beets. You know those things that you run from in the store, or the ones you don't want to buy the seeds and plant in your yard. Yeah, those things. You know, the nasty stuff. You're trained to eat a certain way. Right? We're always trying to look for a sugar rush. Right? But it also means carnally. It's, fruitful seed, right? So the word for meat, right? It says, if it would be for meat, it's okla or akla, right? Not meat. Like they put meat in the world. They put it on and say, this the meat section. But they try to put it as the meat is it's the food you're supposed to eat. But it's meat, man. That's like every tree of the garden you may freely eat. But that section over there, you may not eat of it. For the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. You're going to move. How you say, accelerate that. And that's exactly the truth. Right? But it says, okla, right? Food eating, objects, devouring, consuming, wild beast. It says by wild beasts. That's what the animal's supposed to eat. They're supposed to eat herb eating seed that bears fruit. It's supposed to be for them too. It says in fire, right? Make you a nice spinach casserole. Make you a nice spinach and black bean, and make you a nice unleavened burrito. You'd be surprised in Mexico they eat burritos every day. They eat that bread. Right? But it says food, consume, right? To eat, right? Your okla, your akla, right? Your akla. So this Bereshit 2:7 says, Then Yahuwah Elohim formed Adam from the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And man became a living creature. And Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden in Eden, in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Now the ground Yahuwah Elohim made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. the tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, Taub and Ra. So Yahuwah did all that. How you say? He did that. So you look out here, you got what Yitzar, Yahuwah, Elohim, At, Ha-Adam, right? That is Adam from Afar, right? Moon, and it says what? Ha-Adama. Adama. Right, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eighth word down from in verse 7. Adama. Right? And it says Wu Yafak, right? And it has Neshama, right? Or Neshama, they have here. Right? You start looking at that. Then you have in verse 8, and it says, and then Yahuwah Elohim planted in the garden in the east, and there he put the man whom he had formed. Right? You know, he had formed Yitzar, it says Ashar Yitzar, and you have Adam, but then you go here and it goes Yai, Wab, Yate, and it says what? Elohim, Yahuwah Elohim, right? Because it says Yahuwah Elohim, and then it says Gan, right? Gan. It says Ba Yedu, and it says what? Meku Dam, right? And that is, and you got verse 9, and then it says what? And out of the ground Yahuwah Elohim made to spring up every tree that is pleasant in the sight and good for food. And the tree of life was in the midst of the garden, right? And the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? So same words, right? Yitz, Semak, Yahuwah, Elohim. It has Mon or Moon, right? Min, right? And it says what? Ha'adam. Kal. Atzar, right? And then you have Zakamida. Zakamid, and you have Allah Mira Usut. Uts Taub, right? And then you have Allah Mekal Wayak, and it has Ha Kayadim, right? Then you have B Suk, right? Bituk, right? And you have Hagun U, or it says Wa Itzah, or Ayak. You have what? Good and evil. Ha Daun Taub, it says Ura. Right. So the word for dust is afar. The word for dust is afar. This is slide 29. The word for dust is afar. It says dry, dust, powder. He formed Adam from the dust or ashes. The alats, ground, mortar, rubbish, dry, loose, right? Afar, dust, right? He made Adam from the dust, the how you say, the dust, the powder, the gray, the clay. And he said, people say, I got it from the mud, right? Ashes, dust, right? So the word for ground is Adama, right? Adama. Why is Adama so key, right? You got Adama mentioned, right, about 3 times. Adama. He made him from the Adama. It says from the ground land, right? General tilled, yielding sustenance. That's how you're going to get it. The piece of ground. The field is the world. The seed is the word. The field is the world. The field is your mind. The seed is the word. Right? Specific, a plot of land. Your mind is a plot of land. That substance, right? Building or construction. Your mind is the ground for the construction project. The ground of the earth, visible or surface. Land, territory, soil. And of course, redness. Red soil. redness. Adama, right? When you start looking at Adama, right? So you look at Adama, you got Adama, you got the Aleph, the Daleth, and the Meme, and the Ha, which we know that Adam or Adama is masculine, or Aleph is masculine, right? Then you have the feminine is the Ha, right, at the end, Adama, right? Because you have both in one. You have the feminine and masculine. That's where Adam was formed from. That's why it says he created them male and female from the Adama. Because it's both male and female. Adama. Male child, female child. Zakar Nakubah. Remember his statutes and judgments. Well, remember his statutes. We haven't got the judgment yet. But they just had to keep the statutes. Right? So you got 48, which you add them all up, equals to 45, 46, 47, 48. Right? Equals to 12, equals to 3. Right? Equals to 3. What happened on the third day of creation? Every herb yielding seed that was for food, or every tree, right, yielding seed after its kind. Every tree yielding seed after its kind. Or you look at the third day, when your Mashiach rose from the grave. Right? All these are all aspects. So you got Adama, where you got Adam, right? You take out Adama, and take out Adam, it's what? Aleph, Daleth, Meme. You got 1. Aleph is 1, Daleth is 4, Meme is 40. 4 plus 0 is 4. When you take it to Meme, you break it down to the smallest number, or you break it down. You have what? 441, you get to 9, right? Equals to 9. And then you have what? You have 45. You got Aleph, Daleth, and Meme, right? Equals to 45, equals to 9. Right? And you start breaking it down. 441, 144. When you start looking at Adam, you start looking at the creation of the world, and then you start looking at, when you're looking at the numbering systems that we spoke about before, when we start looking at the aspects of it, right? You look at male and female, masculine and feminine, all in one aspect of being formed from the Adama, male child, female child, Zakar Nakubah, and understanding how one is. This is the word for breath is nafak. Nafak, to breathe, to blow, to sniff, to seethe, to give up, right? To breathe, to blow, inflate, right? Inflate, to blow, to scatter, to kindle, or expire, distend, right? Also means breath, to give up, right? So he gave up, he breathed into his, now he gave us some of his breath and he breathed into him, the breath of life, right? He breathed, he gave up his breath to give to us. It's like CPR. Somebody giving CPR and they trying to resuscitate something, they give up their breath to bring life to somebody else. That's the same, that's what Yahuwah did to us. And he does it every single day and every single morning. When you wake up in the morning. Right? So this word for nostrils is off. The nostrils, it means nostrils, face, anger. Right? You ever seen me get angry? It comes out of your nose. Right? You blow it out. Right? It's anger. Right? Property, nose, face. Off, angry. Where does it come from? He breathed into a man's nostrils. He breathed into him. Right? That anger comes from within. If he's breathing it into you, he's giving up his breath and breathing into your nostrils inside of you. That anger that's inside of you comes from out of you. Right? Before, countenance, face, forehead, nose, nostrils, snout, wrath, right? But he says he breathed to man's nostrils, the off, right? So the word for breath is neshama. Breath, ruach, breathe of Yahuwah, right? Breath of man, of every breath, breathing thing. Spirit of man, a puff, that is a wind. Vital breath, inspiration, intellect. Right? Inspiration, soul, and spirit. He said, what inspires you? People say, how does one be able to create? How does one come up with the ideas? How does one sing a new song? The inspiration and the breath and the neshama of Yahuwah. The blast, right? That breath, neshama. So the Aramaic Palestinian Targum, section 1. And Yahuwah Elohim took the man from the mountain of worship, where he had been created, and made him dwell in the Garden of Eden, to do service in the Torah and keep its commandments. It's the law and keep its commandments. The commandments of the garden. We just read about the statutes. We read about some of them. He said, keep the commandments of the garden. And Yahuwah Elohim took Adam and made him dwell in the Gan of Adon, or the master, and set him to do service in the law and keep it. To do service and keep it. Right? And Yahuwah Elohim commanded Adam, saying, of every tree of the garden eating thou mayest eat, but of the tree whose fruit they who eat become wise to know between good and evil, thou shalt not eat. You know how, what I'm saying? I don't know everything. He said good and evil. So you gonna know good and evil? He said, it's gonna make you wise and you're gonna know good, to know good and evil. Like Yahuwah's like, I only want you to know good right now. You don't need to be knowing that. You're too young. You don't need to know what evil is, right? But he says, thou shalt not eat of it. In the day that you eat of it, thou shalt surely be guilty of death. I mean, Yahuwah's going to beat you down. Beat you down. Like a parent in the home, don't touch the stove. Don't touch my cookie jar with all my stuff in there. Don't you touch my wallet. Don't you touch that remote and hit it and turn it to a certain channel. He said, you be guilty of death. Why? Because I'm going to execute punishment. Right? Like, how many times have you done something that your parents told you not to do? And you thought you were wise? You thought you were somebody? Right? You learned some evil stuff. And what did it bring to you? You start getting worse and worse and worse, and it brought you death. It brought you more punishments, brought you more beatings, brought you more anguish, brought you more pain, brought you more suffering in your life. He said it brought forth death. That's what death is. So it's the same thing, but it's in the ESV. It says, Bereshit 2:15, and Yahuwah Elohim took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and keep it. So keep that in mind. Work it and keep it. And Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the Gan, but of the tree of the knowledge of Taub and Ra, you shall not eat of it. You shall not eat. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall surely die. He's like, man, surely die. And think about the word surely die. We talked this before, but it says surely die. Right? I'm going to get you. Right? So Yahuwah took the man in the garden and work it and keep it. So you look at these words right here. You got Yahuwah, Elohim, and you have At, Ha'adam, Wa Yi Zakanu, Bagun, and it says Ayduk, and you have La. You have that word right here. Abad, you have Lay, his Shamar. Abad and Shamar. The word for work and keep it is Abad. That means and Shamar. Right? Then you have the word 16. Wa Yitsu Yahuwah Elohim Al Hadam La'amar Mikal Ayak. You have this word Hagun. A call, you have to call. That call, right? You have verse 17 says, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat it. For in the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. Right? Surely die. Right? Wa a me'ak, and it says, ha damuth, ha, yeah, Daud, Taub, Lera, right? So we're talking about tree of the knowledge of good and evil, La, the call, and you have Mekanuki. Then you have right here, Bayum. So here that's the day. Bayum. A Kalak. Me Meg Nu. And you have Move. The move. So you have move. You have two moves. My moves, which we talked about this before. Right, when Yahushua's on the totality, right? Move. He said, the day if you eat of it, you shall move. That day you eat of it, don't eat from that tree, right? But at the same time, the word for work or work it is abad. He said, I want you to work it and keep it. So he put man in the gun. He said, I want you to work it and keep it. It means abad. It means to serve. I want you to serve in the gun and keep its commandments, right? And I want you to keep it. But this tree, I don't want you to eat. But he said, I want you to serve. I want you to work. I want you to do something. To work, to labor, to serve, to make oneself a servant. This is from the beginning. To compel a labor of work, to cause to labor, to serve, subjects, to be led, to work, to serve, to till. It also means to, it says enslave, that's whatever comes with having authority to fish, sea, fowls, every creeping thing. But it's not in enslave like they use the word today. To keep it in bondage. And it also means what? To rot, to do something. Worshipper, right? To do something, right? To be worked. That's what it means to keep or work it. To work and keep it. Work, to keep it means shamar. I want you to be a servant, and I want you to shamar and observe. Remember, he says to keep its commandments in the Aramaic Targums. To keep its commandments, to serve in the Torah, or they say in the law, and keep its commandments in the gun. To keep, to guard, to observe, to give heed, to keep. That's why he told them every tree of the knowledge, the one that make one wise and know good and evil, don't eat from that tree. Because you're too young. But everything else, authority to fish, sea, fowls, every creeping thing, yeah. Have authority over all the earth, yeah. But that evil part, good and evil, that's a whole nother level, right? That's like Yahuwah when he going to destroy children in Ashar. I'm going to consume them right now. That's evil. I'm going to destroy them right now. Right? That's how a parent is in the home. I'm going to kill them. Right? I'm going to destroy these people right now. You and these people. I'm going to make people out of you. Right? He said, watchmen. Right? Even means watchmen. I want you to keep shamar. I want you to abide in shamar. Be a watchman. Preserve. I want you to protect the animals and the creeping things and everything that creeps upon the earth. And not just have dominion, protect as well. And everything that creeps upon the earth. And all the fish of the sea, fowls of the air, and every creeping thing, and all the cattle. I want you to protect and preserve it as well. And I want you to keep oneself. I want you to refrain from eating from the tree. You see it down there. Abstain from that tree, right? To keep, to pay heed, to listen to what I say, to be guarded, to hedge, right? As with thorns. Like we talk about hedging. I'm going to talk about that. To guard. It says protect, attend. This is what he wanted. This is what he gave a man to do. So Bereshit 2:18. Then Yahuwah Elohim said, so he made him a servant and he told him to keep it in Shemar. It is not good that man should be alone. So he done did all of that and gave out to Adam. He gave him all of that, all those commands and statutes. He said it's not good that man should be alone. And I will make him a helper fit for him. Now out of the ground, because you know the ground is the Adama, Yahuwah had, Elohim had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the Shamayim and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. So you look at all the things that he was made from the Adama. You got male and female animals, don't you? Do you not? You got male and female men and women, right? You got male and female animals too. They were made from the very Adama. Right? And it says what? And brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And whatever the man called every living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all the livestock and to the birds of the Shamayim and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. There wasn't nobody fit for him. So Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon the man. And while he slept, took one of his ribs and closed it the place. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Did I say that again? And it says right here, and it says, so Yahuwah Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, man, and while he slept, took one of his ribs and closed up the place in his flesh. And the rib that Yahuwah Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, and brought her to the man. Then the man said, this at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of the man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become Akkad Basar, or one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked and were not ashamed. Right? Because they children. How you say? The Qahalath. There ain't no children involved, right, in this situation. There is no type of intercourse involved. This is all about them being in the God. He said they were naked and not ashamed. That's how a child is born into the world. When a child is born into the world, they just run around. They run around the house. They run around naked and ain't even ashamed. He said, what you saying? He's ashamed of your nakedness for? He's like, he said, you're a child, you run around naked, right? And he says what? This is the truth of the Kedush 12, or the gospel of the Kedush 12, or they call it election 42 and 4. Have you not read that Elohim who made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this cause shall a man or a woman, right, leave father and mother, and shall cleave to his wife or her husband, and they two shall be one flesh, or Akkad Basar. Right? You see instances in this, but you look at the beginning. Right? This is what Yahushua is talking about. Right? They shall become one flesh. Right? So when you start looking at the being formed and shaped, right? The word for man is Ish. Because once they separate, because you got Adam, but once Yahuwah took the woman from the man and created a woman from the man, that's what he just did, to create a woman from the man, to give him a helper that's just like him, because she came out from him. She got the same commandments, the same statutes, right? The same mindset of having the authority to physically fowls of every creeping thing, to be a servant and shamar and observe the commandments of the garden. He turns into an Ish. But when they are one, they're Adam. But when they're separated, they're Ish and Isha. Right? He says, word for Ish is man, male, contrast. Right? Husband, human being, person, a servant, an Ish, a servant, mankind, male, a champion, right? A man, a male person, right? Right? All that. And also you can be an adulteress. It all depends on what the choices one makes. But you start looking at Ish, you start looking at this. Because once they separated, and when he pulled the woman out, now it's like Ish and Isha. But here we go. This is word for woman is Isha. Word for woman is Isha. It means woman, wife, female. Woman, wife, married to a man. Female, of course, of animals, because he made animals from the Adama as well, male and female. A woman together, a wife, and as adulteress, depending on what choices people make. And it says childbearing. right? You start looking at Ish and Isha. But when they come together, I say, when they fuse together, they become Adam. Right? Adam. Right? Akkad Basar, right? Right? Ish, right? So you got Ish. You got Ish and Isha, right? You got Ish is what? Aleph, Yad, and Shan, right? Because Aleph means strength, seed planting, word, bring forth 1,000. That's what it has. You got Yad, of course you know that, hand, but I'm just focusing on Aleph and the Shan. And you have the Shin, is devour, consume, digest, life, sharp tooth, and teeth. So you have Aleph, Yad, and Shin, Ish. You have Isha is what? Aleph, Shan, and Ha, because you got the feminine form, right? And you have what? Same thing. Strength, seed planting, word for the Aleph, bring forth 1,000. Right? You have Shan, devour, consume, digest, life, sharp tooth, consume. You got Ha. Right? So if you take out the Aleph and the Shin, right? Aleph and the Shin, because what is the Aleph and the Shin? It's strength, or how you say seed planting, words bring forth 1,000. So when one speaks words and plants seeds, it has strength, right? And those words devour, consume, digest, are sharp teeth, and take life from each other. And they can bring forth, they can create thousands and thousands of demons. Not only in the physical world, a man and a woman come to Ish and Isha, come together to create children. In the spiritual world, or you say in the unseen world, in the other world, one can speak words and create Shadim as well. Same thing with Isha, you take out the Aleph and the Shin, the devouring, the consuming, the digest, the sharp tooth, the consuming, the strength, and the seeds, and the words that bring forth 1,000 things in one's life, and the strength, and he has strength, and that consuming, you take out all of that, then one will see, how you say, Yah. But as long as those things are there, one won't see him within the whole thing. Right? Because once you take them out, then you can see Yah. How you say? Yad and He. Behold the hand. Right? But then you add them up, 10 equals 15 equals to 6. Right? Once everybody starts seeing Yah and they get all the bite and devouring out each other, then you have a bunch of people like this, right? And when you're talking about 666 of the world, we're talking about Yah, right? Everybody understanding what's going on, right? Because they have theirs, right? They have theirs, and those creating this image and likeness from Bereshit have theirs, right? So Galatians 5:13, for you were called to freedom, brothers, sisters, or he say family, because the one for Aleph is family. It means family as well. And what does family do? He said you have biting and devouring and all these things, and you have street and seed planting and consuming and biting and devouring. What happens? Only do not let your freedom as opportunity for the flesh. Right? But through love, serve one another. What is the word? Abad. Abad, keep. Abad and Shamar, serve. For the whole Torah is fulfilled, the law is fulfilled in one word. You shall love your neighbor as you love yourself. You shall love each other. Those who love, as we talked about before, those who keep my mystery and Amunah and love and Ahab. He said, but if you bite and devour one another, consuming, biting your teeth, strength and seed planting, because the words are seed, you bite and devour each other, watch out that you are not consumed, because that's the word for shin, one of another. And then guess what you don't see? you ain't never going to see Yahuwah. He said, Barak are the peacemakers, for they shall see Yahuwah. Because you make peace with all the biting and devouring and the words and the consuming things that one has done, and consuming each other and destroying each other with your words and your seeds, and bringing strength and creating thousands and thousands of spirits and Shadim. Once you start doing that, then you'll see Yahuwah. Because he don't want that in his garden, in his garden, on it. Right? He said you'll be consumed one by another. You just keep eating each other. You ever seen the movies where the zombies, they start eating each other, eating human flesh, and they start eating and chasing people down the street? That's what you become. That's what the society or community that you will become. You will become that. So this is word for helper is Azar. Azar, right? Azar. It means help, succor, one who helps, aid. So Adam was sent in there to abide and serve and become a servant and to keep and observe and shamar its commandments in the God. Have authority to fish the sea, fowls of every creeping thing that creeps upon and over all the earth. Right? All these things that Yahuwah placed in his hands as a statute and things to do. And guess what happens? He's going to give you somebody that's created, pulled out, comes out from that man, and it's going to be created in that same image of the Ish. As a helper, that is a servant. Somebody who helps is a servant. Abad is a servant. And you have what? You have the Ayin, the Zan, and the Rosh. Right? So when you have authority of efficiency over fowls every creeping thing, and over all the earth, and every herb you see, any plants is for food and all these things, what's going on? Now you need somebody to help you with that. And guess what? Ayin means to see. It means vision, right? It means eye, right? Zan means the sword, knife, cut, word, law, perfection. Right? When you have trees, when you have plants, right? When you have all the animals and all these things to take care of, and every herb you see, the fishes of the sea. He said, I don't know how to swim. He said, fishes of the sea, fowls of the air. I don't know how to tame a bird. I don't know how to call a bird. I don't know how to feed a bird. I don't know how to talk to animals, right? Sword, knife, word, law, Torah, the law of it, the garden, its commandments, to keep it and observe the law of that place. And it means Rosh, where he says, of who? The Rosh, the head, the chief. The head, the chief. Cut. So it means see, cut with a knife, or use the word, the law, perfect. Sword, see, cut, knife. When you cut a tree and plant, you don't see people cutting a tree like a machete knife. When they see trees that bear fruit, they take they get a little thing and just cut a little bit. But it grows back. Just like a person, you cut your hair and your hair grow back. Or you shave your arm, your hair grow back. You cut your toenails, they grow back. But you don't be cutting your hair. You're going to cut your hair all rough. Yeah, you're going to be bleeding. Right? You do it nice and gently, right? But these are all aspects of what? Of the garden, right? See, for the chief, for the head. For the chief, for the head. Who's the head? The woman came out from the Ish. So the Ish, you're doing it for the Ish because you're the helper for him. And then guess what happens? You add them all up, 77 for the Zen, 70 for the Ayin, and Rosh for the 200. You have 277. Right? 277 equals 16 equals to 7. So when you cutting with a sword and a knife and using the law and perfection and all these things and all the things you have taken care of for the head and the chief, you're literally working. How you saying? Becoming a servant. Or doing something, right? Or he's saying laboring in work. And you have it equals to 7. What are you laboring for? Right? Hebrews 4:11. Let us therefore strive to enter into that rest, the 7th day. 6 days you labor and do all your work in the garden. And the 7th day, that's what you're laboring for. That's when you're cutting, using word, law, rest, perfection, observing all the commandments, The commandments of the gun, when you are walking as an abad, when you have authority to physically fouls every creeping thing, when you eat herb yielding seed for food, as your plants for food, when you're doing all these things, having authority of the fish of the sea, and all these things, then guess what? You're laboring to enter into that rest every single week. And here's what it says, enter that rest, so that no one may fall. Therefore, let us strive to enter into that rest, so that no one may fall by the same sort of disobedience. Because the garden had commandments. The gun. For the word of Yahuwah is living and active, sharper than any two-edged sword. That's why I say you're going to use the law, word, rest law, word, law, perfection. It's like your sword. It's like your cutting device, piercing the division of soul and ruach, in the joints of the marrow, discerning the thoughts and the intentions of the heart. The intentions of the heart, right? Right. So the word for rib, he created from him a rib, because we just went over Azar. So the word for rib is what? Beam, a hillside, a ridge. I mean, she comes out and is a part of, just like a mountain has a mountain range or mountain hillside. You stand on top of the mountain, you see a mountain range. You're a part of the mountain range. If you're a hill or a lower level mountain, you're a part of that mountain range. But the highest peak is the head. You have the mountain range, and you have the valley. Right? Side chambers are cells. Right? You got a body that has a body, and you have a head, you have a brain. Then it has little cells that work inside of the body. If they start working, your body dies. They start circulating, your body dies. Well, it says side of an arc. Ribbed as curved, right? Curved. A woman's supposed to say curved. What do you mean a rib? You mean a curved rib? Yeah, a rib supposed to have curves on it. Curvy. Right? Leaf, a timber, right? So we start looking at a rib, a being. He said, I'll take out of him a rib. So how many ribs a human body has? You start taking out one rib and making a woman. Something that you take from yourself, make something that's, how you say, it's small, but I take it from you, and it helps you with what you need to do. Right? And the word is salah. How you say? Selah. Rib, being, salah. So this is 2nd Canute, Hall of Canute 11:1. And those men took me and they carried me up to the 4th Shamayim, and they showed me there all the movement sequences of all the rays in the solar and lunar light. And I measured their movements, and I compared their light. And I saw that the sun has a light, or 7 times greater than the moon. Right. So you look at a lower level, a higher light, and a lower light. That light, he said, created the shamash to rule by day, and the yard to rule by night. He made the stars also. Right? So you look at the sun as the greater, and the yard as the lesser. That's how you look at Adam and Kuah. The same way. The moon is just like the moon. The woman is just like the moon. Waxing on, wax on. Crescent moon, full moon, crescent, wax off. No moon. It's a yard. The sun is 7 times brighter. But you look in the sky, you see the yard, you see the sun and the yard up in the sky at the same time. Right. Or the moon, right? Bereshit 38:9 says, Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers and said, Behold, I have dreamed another dream. Behold, the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars are bowing down to me. But when he told it to his father and his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I, the Shamash, and your mother, the Yarik, and your brothers indeed come and bow down ourselves to the ground before you? A man, Ish and Isha, a man and a woman are not the same. They are different. Just like Ish and Isha, they are different, but when they become one, they become one. They are Adam. They can, how you say, rule. You can rule when you're a Qad. You can rule when you're a Qah. He says, and his brothers were jealous of him. That's what happens when you start realizing who you are. When you start realizing who you are, envy and jealousy comes from other people. But his father kept the saying in his mind. Don't you think, even when Yahusha, he told his mother and father, he said, why you seek me? Don't you know I got to be my father's household, my father's business? And he said his mother kept that thing in his mind. He's like, but yeah, you can see right here. The Shamash and the moon and the ark and the 11 stars are three different lights. But at the same time, you start seeing how they operate as one. But then at the same time, you can also see how one is greater. Just like Ish and Ishah, just like Adam, just like how they were made, just like Adam is lower than his father and mother. You got Yahusha, Yahuwah, and then you got Adam. Because when the Ish and Ishah become one in a Qah, they hear the word as Adam. They hear the word as Adam. And then when they separate, it's just like I was in the Gun, Ish and Ishah. But when they hear the word, they're a Qah, and they're hearing it as Adam did. That's how she knew the commandment. Because the whole body heard it. About not eat from the tree of the garden. Right. So this is 2 Canute, chapter 48. It says, the sun, so that he might travel along the 7 celestial circles. So now you see what the Shamash, what is Shamash doing? People say, what is the Shamash doing that? You don't see the Yard doing that. He's traveling the 7 celestial circles, which are appointed with 182 thrones, so that he might descend to the shortest day. So you look at the shortest day. Look at 182, that's 2 cycles, 91, 91. Right? That it might descend to the shortest day. That will be what you will call the winter solstice. Right? And once more, 182, so they might descend to the longest day. That is called the summer solstice. He also had 2 great thrones, where he pauses when he turns around in his direction and in the other direction, higher than the lunar thrones. That's where the Shamash sits. That's why it's 7 times brighter than the Yard. He travels on 7 celestial circles along with the woman. That's why you have, how you say, 7 feasts, 7 cogs, 7 muads, and the Shamash and the Yard travel together. But he sits on the throne, higher than the lunar thrones. 10 actually. 10 days higher than the lunar thrones. Right? And in this way, the sun moves along all celestial circles. When he comes close to the Adar, then the earth is merry and makes its fruits grow. Just like we're getting ready to go into spring. The Shamash getting closer and closer. Now everything getting all joyful. And the fruits and everything getting ready to come up. All because of the Shamash. So I, your mother, and your brothers bow down and worship you? You mean the sun, the moon, the stars going to worship one person? Who is that? Because there's a light before that. But here it says right here, when he goes away, then they each, it says, but when he goes away, then the earth laments, and the trees and all the fruits have no productivity, and all this is by measurement. This is what happens when the Ish don't know where he at, and the Ish leaves. Everything loses productivity. Everything in your life, in your household, in your mind, in your thoughts, the Yarak, everything. Everything just loses everything. No productivity. And all this is by measurement, and by the most precise measurements of the hours he fixed it, and by measure by his own wisdom. That everything visible and invisible, from the invisible things and the visible things, he created all visible things, and he himself is invisible. When you look at Yahuwah, he is Yahuwah. Thus I am making known to you, my children, humble yourself like a child. Zakar Nakubah. Humble yourself like a child. And you must hand over the books to your children. Why? It says, throughout all your generations. Why? And your relatives and among all nations who are discerning, so that they may fear Elohim Yahuwah. Because that's the beginning of wisdom. It says, and so that they may accept them and will be more enjoyable than any delightful food on earth. Any delightful food on earth. Because man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahuwah. And they will read them and adhere them. But those who are discerning, you who do not understand, because they that trust in Yahuwah will understand the truth, understand Yahuwah, neither fear Elohim nor accept them, but renounce them, because you forsake Yahuwah and the righteous, and regard themselves burdened by them, terrible judgment is awaiting them. People say, why do you need to know this? Why do you need to read these things? Because terrible judgment is awaiting them. You can't reject this. Man, Ish or Ishar, Yarik, Shamash, Kukabim. Because if you forsake it, Ish, Isha, Adam, then terrible judgment is awaiting you. It's appointed unto men once to die, and afterwards judgment. It's a terrible judgment. It says, happy, Simcha, happy is the person who pulls their yoke on and carries it around, for he will plow on the day of great judgment. He gonna plow on the great day of judgment. You gonna have to. There's a reason why, right? But keep all these things in mind, right? Interesting. Bereshit 3:1. Now the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field that Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, did Elohim actually say, you shall not eat of the tree in the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat of the fruit of the tree in the garden, but Elohim said, you shall not eat of the fruit of the tree that is in the midst of the garden, neither shall you touch it, lest you die. But the serpent said to the woman, you shall not surely die, or move. For Yahuwah knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be open, or you may become wise and know good and evil. That's what the tree was for. And you will be like Yahuwah, knowing good and evil. You are already created in Yahuwah's image, right? Each and each child, they are already created in Yahuwah's image. When they become one, two become one, they add them. But being that they're separate right here, Satan saw opportunity. When you get separated, this is what he does. It says, so when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desired to make one wise and know good and evil, like their father Yahuwah, right? She took of its fruit and ate. Just like you go into a parent's room and you see some documents watching something you ain't supposed to, or doing something you got no business, trying to be old, be grown, like they say. And you done did something you should not have done. Or you 10 years old and you watch pornography. You saw it on TV accidentally. Or you pick up a magazine at the store. Or you went down the street and somebody gave you some drugs, or you did something down the street, or you did something your parents told you that's for grown people, or people who do evil and raw, right? You do something that's wrong, right? And guess what happens? Your eyes become open. You done found out about it. Boop, right? Like a child, you see a child see a naked person for the first time, their eyes come open, like, what is that? And parents cover their eyes. Right? Or a child learn how to first use Uber. Or they first learn how to use an app. They know how to purchase something. Their eyes become open. Next thing you know, your credit card charged up. It's a delight to the eyes, and that the tree was desired to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate. And she also gave it to her husband and ate. That's what they do. They start giving it to other people who was with her. It says he was with her, and he ate. So where is this all taking place at? Right? And then the eyes of both were open, and they knew that they were naked. Right? They knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves loincloths. And they heard the sound of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the Gan in the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahuwah Elohim among the trees in the garden, meaning upon the forest, the eights. But Yahuwah Elohim called to the man, a sound vibrational frequency, right? He said something and said to him, "Where are you?" He called the Ish, you mean the Shamash, the 7 times brighter than the yard. He called to the one who travels down the 7 celestial cycles. He's like, "Where are you at?" And he said, "I heard the sound of you coming in the gun, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself." And he said, "Who told you that you were naked? Who told you that? Who gave you some teaching and told you that?" Right? Because I never told you that. I told you not to eat from the tree, right? It says, and he says, "Have you eaten from the tree that is in the midst of the garden, which I commanded you not to eat?" That's the commandment of the garden. That was the law, or he said the rules in the garden that each and Ashar was supposed to keep. It says, the man said, "The woman whom you gave me to be with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree, and I ate." And then Yahuwah Elohim said to the woman, "What is it that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." He deceived me. And Yahuwah Elohim said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and above all beasts or life," because that word for beast is life of the field. All beasts, or all life of the field, on your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring, and he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Right? So you look at all this that took place. Now, we just read all the things that he gave them in statutes, and then they broke them all. So then now they're in a situation, they're in a state of disobedience to their father and mother in the house. Right? So just like he said in verse 12, it says, the man said to the woman you gave me, right? So you got Wa Amar Ha-Adam Ha-Ashar, right? Because you got Adam, you got Ashar. He's talking about the Ashar you gave me, right? Ashar, it says Nathak, right? It says Amadi, right? Adani, right? And it says what? Haur, you have Natuna, Li, it says moon, it says what? Itzak, Akal. So he says eat, right? He ate. So they said, I ate. And you got verse 13 says what? Then Yahuwah Elohim said to the woman, "What is this that you have done?" And the woman said, "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." Notice they eating stuff. People say, "Why they got all these fast food restaurants and stuff around?" What do you think they got all this stuff around? They need you to eat something. What you need to eat? Either some words on television or eat something from the stove. Because you ain't got no business eating. And you be like, why Yahuwah gave us a diet? Because he don't want us to eat and everything. And he don't want us listening to everything. Why? Because he said, if you don't have your members discern between good and evil, then you won't know what to cast away out of your mind and what to keep. Right? That's the only part. That's the only reason. Because the members ain't exercised. If my mind ain't exercised to discern between good and evil, and I eat something or I hear something, then I'm not able to cast it away, then it's going to take hold of my mind and going to take over. So the word 13 says what? What Amar Yahuwah Elohim, right? La Ashar, right? Because he said to the woman, right? Ma, it says Za'ath, Eshit, Wa, Ta'amar, Ha'ashar, right? What says Hey Zumkasha, right? You have Hashini, Hashin, Ani, Uaka, right? And he ate. He deceived me. We got Nakash, I'm sorry. It says Nakash, or he says Hanakash. Hanakash, right? That's serpent for the serpent, Nakash, right? So verse 14 says what? Yahuwah Elohim said to the serpent, because you have done this, cursed are you above livestock and above all the beasts. It says, or life of the field. On your belly you shall go, and dust you shall eat all the days of your life. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. And he shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Right? So you have Amar, Yahuwah, Elohim, Al. Then you have Zakak, Zaksha, right? Ki, Ashit, Zath. You have Arur, or Rur, or Rur. Right, that's important. Then you have Ata, Makal. This is Ha Baba. Or he says Haba Mir, right? So that's beast, or how you say beast of the field. Or you say not beast, but livestock. Yeah. U Makal, Hayith, Ha Shada, right? You got Shada. Then you have you have Gonik, or Ganik. And you have, what's that? Taik, Afar. You have the Kal, Yimi, Kai, right? All the days of your life, right? But here you go right here. Verse 15 says, and I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. So that's two different things. Her offspring upon your offspring and her offspring. And I shall bruise your head and bruise his heel. So you got enmity and you got offspring, right? You have bruise, right? So you have U or Wa, a bain, and it says Ashit, Bizik, and it says a bane, right? So that's between. Wa bain. This is Ashar, Wa bain, or bane. Bane is in between. Ha Zara, or Zarak, bane. Zarak, Haur, Yashik, Ra. It says Rasha, and it says what? Wa, or U, a Ta. It says Dashuzu, or Dashumit, Dashu. This is Dashu Z, Dashu. This is a cob, right? It says a cob, so it says heel right here, right? So this is through all of that. So that's, you got the Adri, but when you start looking at these words, right, we're going to look at these words, right? So the word for field is Zadeh, or Shada. They say Shada, or curse every shall be in the field, right? Shada, that word for Shada is what? Field, land, cultivated land, home of wild beasts, or spread out field, right? Shada, right? That's what he's giving the punishment to the serpent, Shada. Cultivated field. It also means plain, opposed to a mountain, a land, flat, spread out, field or ground. or country, right? Shadah, right? So the word for thy belly in verse 14 is gakon, or you say gekon, right? Gekon, it means belly or reptiles. Abdomen, belly. Upon your belly, reptiles. Right? Upon your belly you shall go. Or gakon, right? He said all the days of your life, gakon, upon your belly. Belly it says of reptiles, right? When you start looking at this man standing up, then he's going down and eating dust all the days of his life. Right? Because remember, he made them eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Call, right? So then Yahuwah's like, I'm gonna make you eat dust for messing up my kids for the rest of your life. Because they made them eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And they weren't supposed to do it because it was way too early for them to do that. So he said, you made them eat that, I'm gonna make you eat dust. It's like a babysitter. Or like somebody you putting, a lot of be around your children, and then they cause them to do something. He said, I'm gonna make you eat dust. Right? So the word for enmity, I'm gonna put enmity, or it says Aydah, enmity or hatred. So he gonna put hatred between your seed and her seed. I'm gonna put enmity. It says Aydah. It means what? Enmity, hatred, hostility, enmity, right? Just hatred, hostility. It also means, he said enmity, right? These are all aspects. He said, I'm gonna put enmity between, right? Bane, the word for in between is bane. It means between, among, in the midst of. I'm gonna put enmity in the midst of, right? From between, a distinction between. I'm gonna put a enmity between both of you. Between, either, it says either of or. It says among, midst. Distinction, bane. I'm gonna put it in between. The word for bruise, and he said he shall bruise your heel, right? Or you shall bruise his heel, right? And it says what? That word is shuf, or shuf. It means to bruise, to crush, to gape, to desire, to seize, to strike out. I'm gonna bruise your heel. He's gonna strike out, to gape, to snap at, to overwhelm, to break. Right? You ever seen people snap? Just understand these are seeds. How you say? Warn you each other. Snap at. That's a snapping seed. That's a seed of the serpent, right? Just like you see serpent has sharp teeth. They have like sharp teeth inside, and they snap at you. They go real quick, right? That's exactly how a serpent is. He snaps and he bites you real quick, and you don't even know you bit, right? Right? And he does it really fast, right? It's the same way. Put in between your seed and his seed. The only seed by Yahuwah's word is sharp and powerful, quick and powerful, sharper than two-edged sword. Because Satan's word is snappy too, quick and powerful as well, sharper than a two-edged sword. So you gotta be just as snappy with that, just like that. Because that's why they talk about removing, biting, and devouring each other. Because these are all serpent-like words, right? Consuming, right? It says overwhelm. It can overwhelm you. It says break, bruise, to cover. These are all seeds, right? So we're going over each punishment, right? Because after all of that, you start looking at the punishments that are this stuff. You got statutes and judgment. They broke the statutes and judgment. Statutes, and now he's giving judgment. Now he's giving judgment, mishpat. Now he told the serpent, you're going to eat from the ground, from the Adar, or he say from the earth. You're going from your belly, of Gaun, for all your days of your life. He gets out that to him. Because you made my children eat that from that tree, I'm going to make you eat from the dust. So now he's going to the woman. Verse 16 of Bereshit 3:16, he said, to the woman, he said, I will surely multiply your pain in childbearing. And in pain you shall bring forth children. Your desire shall be, it says, contrary to your husband, and he shall rule, he shall marshal over you. Only reason I put that word shall be contrary is because that word is not in there. Right? Just like he shall be against or contrary. Right? All these translations, they put these words in here to create conflict. Why? Because that's what the serpent does. He puts conflict. And when he creates the conflict, what does he do? He creates biting and devouring each other. You be consumed one of another, and you'll never see Yah or Yahuwah. You'll never see him. You won't be, how you say, Barak are the peacemakers, for you shall see Yahuwah. You won't have shalom. So he put that in there. They say, oh, you be contrary. And then, a woman or Isha say that, contrary, I'm going to be contrary, opposite. Nah, he's telling you your desire. It says, well, they put that in there, but when you start looking at it, it says your desires to your husband, and he shall mashal over you. But they put contrary or against in New International Version or the ESV or the other translations. There's only like maybe 3 translations that actually say something in line with being one. Right? It says, be to your husband, and he shall mashal over you. Right? So he shall surely multiply. So it says, I will surely multiply your pain. So surely multiply is key. Your pain in childbearing. In pain, you shall bring forth children. Your desire to your husband, and he shall rule over you. And then it says, you got all Ashar, because that's the woman. Amar, Arab, or Rabah, which means what? Surely multiply. Rabah, surely multiply. He got 2 Rabahs, Rabah. Keep that in mind, Rabah. Right? Then you have this word. It says, what is this? A soup. I forgot what it's called. A basoup. Soup. It's a zook or zak. A bazak. You have wa. Arun. It says Arun. Ha'arun. Arun, right? Or it says, yeah, Arun. It says a zab. The Lad. And you have Benim, right? Wa'al, and you have a Yishik, and you have this word. Your desire, right? Your desire, that word for desire is Dashut. Dashut. And then you have Wa Hawur Mashal. Right? So the word for multiply, will surely multiply or greatly multiply, is Rabbah. Because he gave 2 Rabbahs. I will surely multiply, Rabbah, to become great, to become many, to become much. So it's going to be a lot, much, become much. Right? To become much, right? That's what it's going to become. It's going to become much. Just like you look at becoming, you say much pain. As you get closer and closer, it's going to be much pain. And I'm sorry, even when I read it, right, the word for pain it's a bone. It's a bone, right? That's the word for pain. It's a bone, right? Because when you read it, it says it's a bone. It says eight's a bone. It has an iron. And it has its side and a bit and a bit, a bait and a y and a noon. It's a bone. Yeah, it's a bone. It says in pain, labor and hardship. Worrisome, labor and pain, sorrow, toil, and pain and toil. It's a bone. You shall bring forth, right? It said, I'm gonna make your pain in. It's a bone, Harun, right? We read. In conception, Harun. In pregnancy, physical conception. Pregnancy, conception, it's a bone. I'm gonna make your pain, I would say Rabbah, it's a bone, Harun. Right? In physical conception, I'm gonna multiply pain. in conception, right? And it says the word for in pain you shall bring forth, and in pain you shall bring forth is etseb. It means hurt, pain, hurt, toil, sorrow, hardship, pain, hurt. It says in pain, in pangs, in toil, in an earthen vessel. Etseb, you shall bring forth, what? Yalad. You're going to bring forth Yalad. To bear, to bring forth, begat, gender. To bring forth of childbirth. In pain, you're going to bring forth in childbirth. Bear, young, begat. This also means active of midwife, showing lineage. Right? Begat. In pain, you shall bring forth, right? A Yalad. Right? You bring forth a Yalad, or he say a son. Right? You shall bring forth a son. It says show forth lineage, right? So the word for desire in that verse is tashuka, which means desire, longing. It's like a longing, a craving of a man for a woman, or a woman for a man, right? It's a craving, a longing. So that's tashuka, right? So it means longing and desire. Also means stretching out after, or beast. And it means a woman for a man, right? So it's going to be a longing for being with a man, right? An ish. An isha, longing for an ish. So that is the word for, I say, desire. So, and he says he shall rule, or he says he shall rule over you, is mashal, right? Is mashal, right? It says to rule, have dominion, to reign, to rule, to have dominion, to cause, to rule, right? To exercise dominion. To exercise dominion. To exercise dominion, right? Over you, right? So this is Bereshit 3:17. This is to Adam. And to Adam he said, because you have listened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten from the tree of which I commanded you, you shall not eat of it. Right? Cursed is the ground, or Adama, because of you. In pain, right? So the ground is cursed. You shall bring, it says, in pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth for you. Right? So now the ground is cursed, and you're going to eat from that same ground all the days of your life, because it's already cursed, and then it's going to bring forth thorns and thistles. The ground is going to bring forth thorns and thistles, because before it didn't bring forth thorns and thistles. But now the ground is cursed, and now it brings forth thorns and thistles. And it says, and it shall bring forth for you, and you shall eat the plants of the field. So now the place where he usually get the plants and the fruits, you're going to have thorns and thistles in it, because the ground is now cursed. It says, by the foot of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground. You're going to eat bread. Lakam, right? For out of it you were taken, for thus you shall, it says, out of it you were taken, for you are dust. And it says, and you shall return. Right? And you shall return. So the word for pain in the same book is it's a bone. Right? Notice how the Ish and the Ashar are having the same pain. It's a bone. In pain, in labor and hardship, you shall work, right? He says, in pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. It's a bone. It's a bone. Pain, labor, hardship, soil, toil, worrisome, labor, pain, sorrow, toil, pain. You're going to eat from it. It's a bone, right? So the word for thorns is coats or coots, right? It means thorns, thorn bushes, thorn, a thorn. He said you're going to eat from it all the days of your life. Thorns. That's what it's going to produce, thorns. Then it says thistles. The word for thorns and thistles is what? Dardar. Coats dardar. Yeah, dardar, thistles, thorns. A thorn, a thistle. Thistles. Right? Dardar. Right? He said, thorns and thistles. The ground is cursed, thorns and thistles. You're going to eat from it all days. And it's a bone. You're going to have pain. Just like a woman has pain now in travail to bring forth the child, a yalad. Rabah, rabah. I'm going to multiply your pain. Rabah, rabah. And you're going to have thorns and thistles. And it's a bone, you have pain. You add up dardar, you got dalaf rosh, dalaf rosh. It goes to what? 408, which is 12, which is 3. Right? You start looking at the bar, dardar. Right? So the word for to bring forth, right, is samak. Right? It's samak. It says to sprout. Right? To grow hair, to cause to grow, to sprout, to bring forth, samak, right? To bring forth, samak, right? And then the word for sweat, right? You know, I said from the sweat you shall bring forth from sweat, right? The word for sweat is zayah. Zayah, it means perspiration, sweat, thorns and thistles, and from the sweat you shall bring forth, right? Perspiration, sweat, right? Zayah, right? So in order for a person to sweat, like you talk about Adam, right? Adam he had punishment, he got dished out in the gun, right? The ground was cursed. He said the ground curses the ground, cursed is this, cursed is that. Thorns and thistles. You got itzabon, you got rabah for the woman, pain, right? You got the serpent on the ground, you got all these things taking place. And in the garden. And he said, but you still gonna eat the plants though. That ain't gonna change. You still gonna eat them. It's sad. But you're just gonna have thorns in the way. Right? So you look at sweat. So what do you need? In order for sweat, you're gonna need the sun, you're gonna need the shamash, you're gonna need a skin. That's the only way you're gonna sweat in this earth, right? You're gonna need skin, you're gonna need the sun, the shamash. So this second book of Adam and Yahuwah, the conflict with Satan, chapter 3. But before that, Yahuwah Elohim had made this covenant with our father Adam in the same terms before he came out the garden, when he was by the tree, when Yahuwah took of the fruit and gave it to him to eat, because when our father Adam came out of the garden, he passed by the tree and saw how Yahuwah Elohim had changed his appearance into another form and how it shriveled. So you look at the appearance that he had when he was in the garden, it's totally different than this appearance. Right? He said from the sweat, thorns and thistles from the sweat, you shall bring forth. This is chapter 6 of the same book. But Adam and Yahuwah, verse 1, it says, and Adam and Yahuwah cried for having come out of the garden, which was their first home. And indeed, when Adam looked at his flesh, he saw it was altered. And cried bitterly. You notice he cried. And Yahuwah cried over what they had done. And they walked and went gently into the cave of treasures. They both cried. Adam cried and Yahuwah cried. Right? Thorns and thistles. Adam cried. Yahuwah cried. He get punishment. It's a bone. Rabah. Right? They both gonna bring forth. She gonna bring forth children or yalads, and he going to bring forth. Like I said, it's thorns and thistles. The ground is cursed, and you got all these things taking place. And he's going to do it by the sweat or the perspiration or the za'af. Right. So this is verse 8 of the same chapter. And Adam said to Yahuwah, look at your eyes and at mine, which before beheld Malakim praising and Shamayim without ceasing. Now we do not see as we did. As our eyes have become flesh, They cannot see like they saw before. You know how it says, we talked about before, your flesh and your garments ain't going to understand what I'm getting ready to say to you. You can't see Yahuwah in your flesh. He said flesh and bone, blood cannot inhabit the kingdom of Yahuwah. This type of flesh. It says, verse 10 says, and Adam said to Yahuwah, what is our body today compared to what it was in our former days when we lived in the garden? What was it? So this is chapter 5 of the same book. And Adam and Yahuwah entered the cave and stood praying in their own tongue, unknown to us, but they knew it well. As they prayed, Adam raised his eyes and saw the rock and the roof of the cave that covered him overhead. This prevented him from seeing either the Shamayim and Elohim's creatures. So he cried and beat his chest hard until it dropped and was dead. Right? He beat his chest until he dropped and he was dead. And Yahuwah sat crying, for she believed he was dead. Right. Right. Same chapter, verse 9. For you, Elohim caused him to fall asleep and took a bone from him. This is Yahuwah talking after she realized she thought he was dead. This is later on. And Elohim caused him to fall asleep and took a bone from his side and placed the flesh back in its place. But by your divine power, and you took me, the bone, and made me a woman, bright like him, and with heart, reason, and speech, and flesh like his own. And you made me after the likeness of his looks, and by your mercy and power, O Yahuwah, and I and he are one, and you, Elohim, are our creator. You're a cop, right? You are he who made us both in one day. Therefore, O Yahuwah, Elohim, give him life so that he may be with me in this strange land while we live in it due to our transgression. Because she thought he was dead. But if you will not give him life, then take me, even me like him, that we both may die the same day. And Yahuwah cried bitterly and fell on our father Adam, because of her sorrow. Right. So this is chapter 8. Right. Thus Adam has this night, deceived you? He says, it is not to last forever, but it only of 12 hours. When it is over, day will return. Do not sigh or be moved, and do not say in your heart that this darkness is long and drags on wearily. Do not say in your heart that this darkness is long and drags on wearily. Do not say in your heart that I plague you with it. Strengthen your heart and do not be afraid. This darkness is not punishment. Adam, I have made the day and have placed the sun in it to give light, in order that you and your children shall do work in the garden. For I knew you would sin and transgress and come into this land. Right? So this is chapter 16 of that same book. After this, Adam and Yahuwah continued to stand in the cave, praying and crying until the morning dawned on them. And when they saw the light return to them, they refrained to them. They refrained and being afraid and strengthened their hearts. Then Adam came out the cave, and when he came to the mouth of it, and stood and turned his face toward the east, and saw the sun rise in glowing rays, and felt the heat thereof on his body, he was afraid of it, and thought in his heart that this flame came forth to plague him. And he cried and beat his chest, and fell on the ground on his face, and made his appeal, saying, O Yahuwah, plague me not, neither consume me, nor yet take away my life from the earth. For he thought the sun was Elohim, because while he was in the garden, and heard the voice of Elohim, Yahuwah, and the sound he made in the garden, in the garden and feared him. Adam never saw the brilliant light of the sun, neither did the flaming heat touch his body. Right? So in order for one to sweat, right? In order for one to perspire out of their skin, they would have to be in in heat, doing work in the sun. But he said when he was in the garden, that he never saw it. He never saw the sun, and it never touched his body. Right? So when he was cast into this place, in this world, where the Shamash comes up, he finally allowed the sun to touch his skin, because his skin was changed into another form, which in turn allowed his skin to feel the heat of the sun, which in turn allowed him to sweat in this world. But his job stayed the same though. But he said, by the sweat of your brow, thorns and thistles, you're gonna work. Why? Because it's punishment. It's punishment for him. Like he was supposed to serve and become a servant, right? In the gun, but now you gotta do both. Right? You're no longer a servant, you're working in the gun, but now you're sweating, and it's harder. Rabah, in pain. You're gonna have pain in your body. You're gonna have pain in the way you move. You're gonna have pain. It's a whole nother different world. Like you go from a higher self to a lower self. Now you got pain in your joints, pain when you bring forth children, pain and everything. It's a bone. Rabah. Right? But he said when he was in Shamayim, he didn't have this. Right? This is a sentence of Syrian meander. Right? It says, hateful is the custom of lying down at an improper time. It says, and sleep carries us into hell. Why? When you sleep, we lay down, you're like one step closer to dying, to the lake of fire, right? Or to going to leaving this earth, right? Because that's what one does when one dies, one sleeps. It says, dreams unite us with the dead. It says, hateful is laziness. It is hungry and thirsty and naked and lamenting, right? So you start thinking about laziness. You start thinking about hateful is laziness, naked, right? And lamenting, right? So we start looking at these aspects, right? And these are all things that they did when they got cast out. Who told you were naked? They were crying and lamenting, right? Now they're in a world, he said, now they live by every word. Now they're hungry and thirsty. Now they're in a place where they hunger and thirst. Right? But Yahuwah always has something set up. This is Testament of Gad 1:24. For the Ruach of hatred working together with Satan. Right? Because that's what he said. Hateful is laziness, right? Works together with Satan through hastiness of spirits. That's why Yahuwah was hasty to learn knowledge of good and evil and to make one wise. That's why Satan, Hashatan, came inside of the serpent. It says in the Nakash, in all things to men's death. That's why he brought death to Adam. And the day you eat of it, you shall move. Right? Now you have Rabah, cool. Now both of y'all have Itzabon, right? Which means pain. And it says, but the Ruach of love works together with the Torah of Yahuwah in suffering, long suffering, unto the salvation of men. Right? A love. Aha. That's why we talked about you who love me and keep my mystery in Amunah, and who those who love. It is found of those who love. It says, verse 25 says, hatred therefore is evil, and it constantly mateth with lying, and speaking against the truth. It makes small things to be great, and causes the light to be darkness. It causes sweet bitter, and teaches slander, and kindles wrath. It stirs up war, and violence, and covetousness. It fills the heart with evil and devilish poison. Right? That's what happens. The mind gets poisonous. It's like happened to Kuah, right? These things, therefore, I say to you from experience, my children, that you may drive forth hatred, which is of the devil, because you hate Yahuwah. And he say, if you love Yahuwah and his commands, you will do them. And if you hate him, then you have Satan. Or you work with Satan like Kuah did. he says, which is the devil, and cleave to the love of Yahuwah. Righteousness casteth out hatred, and humility destroyeth envy. Verse 28, for he that is just and humble is ashamed to do what is unjust, bringing reproof not of another, but of his own heart, because Yahuwah looketh on his inclination. He looks on it. Right? So this is Yugonah 8:44. It says, you are of your father the devil, and your will is to do your father's desire. Right? When you was in the gun, who did Satan's desire, or the Nakash? He was a murderer from the beginning, and he did not stand in the truth. Adam and Kuhl did not stand in the truth. Remember, the two shall become one. He judged them as one being, because there is no truth in them. When he speaks a lie, when he lies, he speaks of his own character, for he's a liar and the father of lies. He didn't lie to them saying you're going to be as Yahuwah, knowing good and evil, but it's just the fact that he lied to them and knowing that they were too young to eat that. They just was created. Not even less than, let alone Shamayim time. So the monthly Proverbs 15:19, the way of the sluggard or a stall is like a hedge of thorns. Remember, he told Adam that cursed is the ground, for thorns and thistles should bring forth, right? He said, and he told you, from the sweat of your brow, you're going to what? Work. But he said, the way of a sluggard is like a hedge of thorns, but the path of the upright is a level highway. So you look at a hedge of thorns, like hedge, thorns and thistles, right? When you're a sluggard, thorns and thistles, right? You ain't gonna do nothing. Get them out your way, get them out your thoughts, right? So word for etzel or stel is what? Sluggish, lazy, sluggard, slothful, sluggard, lazy, right? He said from your sweat of your brow, you're gonna work. Thorns and thistles. He's gonna do it all the days of your life. And you're going to eat from the plants. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. But he said, if you let these thorns keep growing and keep springing up, he said, but the path of the upright is a level highway. So when you start looking about think about the pathway, and you got thorns, he said, but and you got hills, and you got little lumps and all these things in it. Your path is, how you say, thorns and thistles. Because how you say it's sluggard, right? Because it's hateful, right? The word for hedge is mutzka, which means a hedge, right? A hedge of thorns, mutzka, right? A hedge, mutzka, and that word for thorns is kadek. Mutzkar kadek. It means thorn, prick, briar, a sting, a pricky plant, a briar. Right? The way of a sluggard is a hedge of thorns. And it's hateful, and it works together with Satan. Right? It's prick, it'll pricky, it's stingy. It's like a serpent's bite. Snappy. Right? Sticky, briar, thorn, prick. Right? Mashali 20:4, it says, the sluggard, Astel, does not plow in autumn because he's lazy, right? He will seek at harvest and have nothing. Sluggish, lazy, sluggard, slothful, lazy one. The sluggard, Astel, does not plow in autumn. Remember, he made Kuhl to be what? Workers in the garden. But he said, being that you did that, sweat of your brow, you're going to feel the sun, right? You're going to feel the sun. Matter of fact, pain, y'all going to bring forth children. It's a bone, rabah. Pain you're going to bring forth, and you're going to work from the ground, from the Adama, from the ground. Slothful, sluggard. He said he will seek at harvest and have nothing. Go on, because they ain't going to have nothing. Because if you don't plow, in autumn, if you don't plow, right, you ain't gonna have nothing, and it'll be hateful. I mean, you'll be hating Yahuwah because you ain't gonna have nothing to present, no bread to present on your shulchan, on your altar. You ain't gonna have nothing. So Proverbs 24:30 says, I passed by the field of a sluggard. But it says that word for sluggard is ish. I passed by on the field of a ish, by the vineyard of a man lacking sense. Or that word for man is Adam. So you got Ish and Adam. What was Adam's command in the garden? He didn't tell him to be sluggish. He told him to be a servant, to work, to till. And he made an Ashar to do the same thing. He made an Ashar to Azar, to see, to cut, for the head, for the chief, to help. But if the Ish is sluggard, right? He said, and behold, it was overgrown with thorns. Because he told Adam, thorns and thistles, it's going to bring forth. You're going to have thorns and thistles. You're going to have thorns. The ground was covered with nettles, and its stones walls were broken down. He ain't doing nothing. Then I saw and considered it. And I looked, and I received instructions. A little sleep, a little slumber, and a little folding of hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man. Just like somebody coming to rob you. Poverty like a robber. Like an armed man. Just like how you see a sluggard just sitting around. And guess what happens? The vineyard all got thorns and everything just broken down. Ain't nothing built, ain't nothing ready for no bread, lakam. Ain't no plants. You ever seen a field that ain't tilled? And you got plants that are overgrown, you got all these thorns and thistles in it? Just like you see a raspberry or blueberry or a blackberry tree, or like a place where you see all these thorns at. That's the same thing that happens in a person's mind. Right? So the word for that's word for sluggard in that verse is ish, a man, contrast, a servant, a sluggish servant. Or he said a servant that ain't doing nothing. Human being, a person, an ish. So the word for lacking sense is, I saw a man or ish lacking sense, or keker, it was full of thorns. It says in need of, lacking, needing, if in want. Needy, lacking. That means the person is lacking something. I need something. Right? He said an ish, lacking sense. In a vineyard of an ish, of Adam. Because that's what he put Adam in to do. He put him to till in the gun, to have authority and physically follow every creeping thing. He took him in there to keep it and to work it. To keep and to work it. In the gun. To, abad and shamar. In the gun. But you see a man, an ish of Adam lacking sense. The ish lacking sense. And that's the ish today. That's the ish today, lacking sense. Because they lazy, right? Lazy in mind, lazy in thoughts, lazy in everything. And therefore you lack sense. Because there ain't no way you're going to produce anything. Or any lakam or anything, whether in your mind or in reality, if you lazy. Right? So the word for thorns is kimashon. Kimashon, it means thistles and nettles, thorny, useless plant. A useless plant, pricky plant. Notice how things that are useless and lazy and slothful, they snap. They're like the serpent. They work together with Satan. They're useless. They're pricky, right? And they thorns. Right? So this is Yirmiyahu 4:3. It says, for thus saith Yahuwah, the men of Yehuda and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground. Right? If he telling them to break up your fallow ground and sow not among thorns, he's telling them that they are slothful and lazy. He's telling them they have thorns and thistles. I went to a field of an ish, an Adam, and I see it's overgrown with thorns and a man lacking sense. Circumcise yourselves to Yahuwah. Remove the foreskin of your hearts. I'm going to take away the stony heart. I'm going to give you a heart of flesh. And I'm going to bring you back to the gun. And I'm going to show you how to be an ish in the gun. And you're going to shamar, and you're going to be an abad, you're going to be a servant. You're going to keep it and work it. And you're going to have authority to fish, seed, fowls of every creeping thing, and every herb yielding seed, and the seed herb yielding seed for fruit that bears fruit. It's going to be for food for you. I'm going to bring you back to that mindset. Among thorns, circumcise yourselves to Yahuwah. Remove the foreskin of your hearts. Your heart is hardened. That's the only reason one is that way. Your heart is hardened towards Yahuwah's creatures, toward his animals, toward the field, toward the plants, to being a servant, to observing, to keeping the commands of the God, keeping the commandments. You're doing all these things. Your heart and your mind is thorns and thistles and lazy, and you're pricky and snappy, and you work together with Satan. So Yahuwah's like, circumcise your heart. So the word for break up is near, to break up, to freshly plow, to till, to glean. That means you got to work. You got to freshly do something. That means you have to do something. Ish. You have to do something. Because in order for an Isha to do something, the Ish got to be doing something. In order for the Isha to help. Because that's what the Isha is supposed to do. She's supposed to help. To get rid of the thorns and thistles. And plow the field. And to have authority to fish, seed, fowls of every creeping thing. And they're over all the earth. And shamar and abide with you. Right? The word for break up is near. Plow and to till. Right? The word for thorns, right? So not among thorns is what? Coats. Coats. That's the same word for Adam. He said thorns and thistles. Thorns and thistles. Thorn bush. Thorn. Thorny. Thorn bush. Pricking. Thorn. Thorn bush. Right? He said, so not among thorns, right? So it's Matthew 13:18. Hear then the parable of the sword. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom, the Malkuth, and does not understand it, because they don't trust in Yahuwah, they say they don't trust in Yahuwah, understand the truth. When the evil one comes and snatches away what has been sown in their heart, that's what he did to Kuhud and God. He snatched away what was in her mind. This is what was sown along the path. As for what is sown on rocky ground, this is one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, simcha. Yet he does not have root in himself and endures for a while. And when tribulation and persecution arises on account of the Adar, immediately he falls away. He doesn't do it anymore. They don't want to do it anymore. They immediately fall away. That's what happened in the garden. That's what happened in the garden. They immediately fell away. They immediately transgressed. It says, as for what was sown among thorns, this is one who hears the word, but the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word. That's why in Yirmiyahu, they were all greedy or unjust gain. Everybody seeking after his own commands. He said they choked the word, and it proved unfruitful. Or you mean unprofitable, because they forsook Yahuwah and his righteous, and their works became unprofitable and unfruitful. How you say the garden became unfruitful and unprofitable. Their house, their life, their whole being. As for what was sown in good soil, this is one who hears the word and understands it, and he indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, 60-fold, and another 30-fold. Because, all these take place when you start looking at all these things. You look at 30-fold, you look at what? The Lamed, you look at the 60-fold. What do you look at 60-fold? The Samik, and you look at 100-fold. The Kuf. So this Mashali Proverbs 13:20. Whosoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but a companion of fools will suffer harm. This is Shamuel 23:6. What? But worthless men or Belial are like thorns. How many Belials, right? They're like thorns. They pricky, they snappy. What else they do? They lazy. They work together with Satan. They are thrown away, for they cannot be taken with the hand. That's why book of 2 Canute 48. It says a terrible judgment awaits them, those who do not listen to these words. It says are like thorns, and they are thrown away. They cannot be taken with the hand. You can't pick up thorns in the hand. You can't give a right hand of fellowship to a Belial. What's going to happen? You're going to get pricked in your hand. But it said the word for thorns is the same word that was for Adam. Coats. Thorn bush, thorn. Thorns and thistles. You shall eat from the ground. You shall eat the plants of the earth. Thorns. A thorn. So the word for worthless men is Belial or Belial. Worthless men are lazy. It says worthless, good for nothing, unprofitable. That's why he said they will forsake Yahuwah and the righteous. Their works are unprofitable and their labors unfruitful. Base fellow, ruin, destruction, without profit, worthlessness, destruction, wickedness. That's what happens. Right? So this is Mashali Proverbs 26:7. Like a lame man's legs, which hangs useless, is a proverb in the mouth of fools. Like one who binds the stone in a slings, one who gives honor to a fool. Like a thorn that goes up into the hand of a drunkard is a proverb in the mouth of a fool. Like an archer who wounds everyone is one who hires a passing fool or a drunkard. Like a dog that returns to his vomit, a fool repeats his folly. Do you see a man who is wise in his own eyes? There is more hope for a fool than for him. All right, here we go. The sluggard, Astel, the same word says, there is a lion in the road. There is a lion in the streets. As the doors turns on his hinges, so does a sluggard on his bed. That's why he said, whoso rises early shall be without care. That's what I talk about wisdom, for he find it sitting at his doors. But a sluggard ain't gonna do that. It says the sluggard buries his hand in the dish, and it wears him out to bring it back to his mouth. You put your hand in the dish, you're like, man, somebody grab my hand and put it to my mouth. That's a lazy person. The sluggard Astel, right, is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who can answer sensibly. Because the sluggard be thinking he's like, sluggard believes they know it. They ain't did no labor, no work, read no books, did nothing. They think they wiser than the people who did it. A sluggard always got something to say. He's like, you ain't did nothing. He said Astel, right? So the word for thorn, he said a sluggard is like a thorn, right? It's like a thorn, right? A thorn, that word for it is koach, right? Koach, right? Or koach. It says koach or koach. Koach, right? Koach. And it means thorn, briar, bramble. Thorn, briar, bramble. Keep that in mind. Thorn bush, thicket, piece of a thorn. Right? A thistle thorn. He said, all these thorns, what's he? Because he told Adam, this was a punishment. Thorns and thistles. Not only in the field, but in people, in their mind, in their thoughts. Just like you have thorns and thistles in the field when you go plow and you work, you have thorns and thistles inside of people's minds. And they lazy and they have overgrown, just like you see a field overgrown and you tilled it and you doing your job on the field, you'll see people in their mind has thorns and thistles and overgrown, and they like men, Isha, and worthless men and women of Belial. You'll see they have overgrown thorns and thistles in their thoughts. And just like it is for the Ish, he's supposed to till it, Tamar, how you say Shamar, and Abad be a servant, and also the Ishar is supposed to be see and cut for the Ish, for the head. sword, knife, word, law, rest, perfection, Zen. When one sees these things, you have to cut. You have to be sharper than any two-edged sword in your mind. So you can do it for the Ish, right? And you help him do it for everything else around him. So this is Yeshayahu 32 and 9. Rise up, you women who are at ease, right? Hear my voice. Right? Hear my voice, you complacent daughters. Give ear to my speech. That's how we talk about, O children, receive the truth. In little more than a year, you will shudder, you complacent women, for the grape harvest fails. Why? The fruit harvest will not come. Tremble, you women who are at ease. Shudder, you complacent women. Why? Because the women have now left their job. You got the Ish, who lazy in thorns, right? You got thorns and briars, right? And work together with Satan and ain't doing what their job in the gun. And now you got the women doing the same thing. Strip yourself, make yourself bare, tie sackcloth on your waist, beat your breast. Isn't that what Adam and Kuhl did when they got out of the garden? They kept beating themselves, beating the breast. Why? Because they transgressed the rules. They didn't, when the servant abide in the garden, and they did not shamar or observe the commandments in the commandments of the garden. Beat your breast for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine, for the soil of my people growing up in thorns or coots, same word, for Adam, and briars. Look at what's going on. Look at the people. Yes, for all your joyous houses and exultant city, for the place is forsaken. Because you know why? Because the Ashar is not, vision and seeing, and not using sword, the knife, the word, the perfected law, the Torah, and the words, and she not cutting for the head. She not being the Adar. So you got the Ish not tilling and doing the things he's supposed to do in the garden, and it's overgrown with thorns. It's not even supposed, you're supposed to be cutting them things down. And now the Ishar ain't helping, ain't doing the thorns, bro. They all at ease. Everybody all relaxed. He says, yes, for all the joyous houses in exalted city, for the place is forsaken, the populous city deserted. The hill and the watchtower will become dens forever. The joy of wild donkeys, a pasture of flocks. That's a whole garden, a gun out of chaos, because the actual animals are supposed to be in subjection. You're supposed to have authority and dominion over the physical sea, fouls every creeping thing, and over all of the donkeys in the pastures of the flocks. But now they all running wild because everybody at ease, and the thorns and the briars are now, overgrown. And it says, departed. And he says, and the hill, the watchtower has become dens forever. Because remember, what was one of the words for servant in the garden? Watchmen. Watchman, watchwoman, right? You're supposed to be watching forever. It says, enjoy a wild donkeys and pastoral flocks until the Ruach is poured upon us from on high. That's the only reason they like that. Because the Ruach ain't poured down. It says, and the wilderness becomes a fruitful field, right? It's like that until the Ruach is poured upon us from on high, and the wilderness become a fruitful field. And the fruitful field is deemed a forest. Then justice will dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness abide in the fruitful field. And the effect of righteousness will be peace, shalom, and the result of righteousness, quiet, and trust forever. Right? So he's talking to the Ish and Ishah. He's talking to the man and the woman. He's talking to them because there is no, shalom, righteousness, and quietness of trust. He said trust. So he's telling everybody to get back on their job. Right? So the word for ease is shanan. Sha'anan. It means to be what? Secure, quiet. Those who are at ease, who are quiet and at ease. Careless, wanton, arrogant. You're in security, pride, arrogance. You're in security, You're quiet, but you see all this stuff going on, and you ain't doing absolutely nothing. It says, in bad sense, haughty. It says, at ease, secure. Arrogance. Right? So the word for briars is shamir. Right? So you got thorns as coats, but then you got briars, thorns, adamant flint, thorns, thorn bush. Right? Sharp stone. It says pricky thorn. He said all of it is thorns. So everything is grown up to thorns and briars. Because all the women are at ease. The daughters are at ease. So this is Exodus 1:15. It says, the king of Mizraim said to the Abri midwives, one whom was named Siphrah, and the other Pur, who served as midwives to the Abri women, to see them on the birth stool. He said, if it is a son, ye shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. But the midwives feared Yahuwah. They that fear Yahuwah understand the truth. And did not do as the king of Mizraim commanded. That's what Ka'ur should have did in the gun. She should have followed Yahuwah's command, but she followed the serpent, Nakash, and Satan's command. But let the male he says, but the midwives feared Yahuwah, and did not do the king's and did not do as the king of Mizraim commanded them, but let the male children live. So the king of Mizraim called the midwives and said to them, why have you done this, and let the male children live? The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Abri women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous. It says kaya, right? To give birth before the midwives come to them, because they're independent. They don't need no help. They're independent. Right? They don't need no help. They're independent. So Yahuwah dealt well with the midwives. Why? Because they protected other people's children. They protected other people's children. Because they weren't at ease. They protecting other people's children. You see the thorn and the briars and the son of Belial coming to give them a commandment. They ain't hearken to him. They protected other people's children that weren't even their own. They weren't at ease. Women, he said, thorns and briars, they would just kill the children and obey him like Ka'ur. But had they done that, they would have been partaker in somebody else's sin. They kept themselves pure. So Yahuwah dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. That's the only way. That's why he told the women who were at ease to get up and rise up, because so the people can go strong again. So we can go strong and multiply again and be fruitful and rabbah, just like it was in the gun. So we can be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. But being that everybody at ease, the men are Ishas are lazy, working together with Satan. It's thorns and briars and hedges of thorns, worthless men of Belial. And you got the women who are the same way, at ease. Everything thorns and briars, the watchtowers, all the donkeys, everything running wild. Nobody's in their job and doing what they're supposed to. In their household, in their family, in their lives, in the field, whether it's picking up a shovel, literally, or doing anything. Everybody's at ease. It says, and because the midwives feared Yahuwah, it says, so Yahuwah dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. Because after you obey Yahuwah, that's what he does. He rewards you. And because the midwives feared Yahuwah, he gave them families. Why wouldn't he not? These women look out for other people's children. Why would I not give them a family? Because they're going to look out for each other. And they're going to look out for each other. They're going to look out for their ish. They're going to look out for their household. They're going to look out for the field. They're going to look out for the yard, the land. They're going to look out for other people's families. They're going to look out for the people around them, the community. They're going to look out for everybody. Why would he not give them families? Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, every son that is born of the Abli you shall cast into the Nile, but you shall let the daughter live. So he commanded his people. He always trying to get those who believe in Yahuwah to sin first. And then when they don't obey, he just say, okay, my people do it. This is Judges 9 and 7. When it was told to Jotham, and he went and stood on top of Mount Gerizim and cried aloud and said to them, listen to me, you leaders of Shechem, that Yahuwah Elohim may listen to you. The trees once went out to anoint a king over them. So the trees then went out. Shall I leave? He says, and they said to the olive tree, reign over us. But the olive tree said to them, shall I leave my abundance, by which gods and men are honored, and go and hold and sway over the trees? And the tree said to the fig tree, you come reign over us. But the fig tree said to them, shall I leave my sweetness and my good fruit, and go hold and sway over the trees? And the tree said to the vine, you come reign over us. But the vine said to them, shall I leave my wine, that the cheer of Elohim and men go and sway over the trees? Then all the trees said to the bramble, the Adar, you come reign over us. And the bramble Adar said to the trees, if in good amunah or faith you are anointing me king over you, then come and take refuge in my shade. But if not, let fire come out of the bramble Adar and devour the cedars of Lebanon. That's why you see all Yahoo on top of the hill. He said, if I be a man of Elohim, let fire come down and consume you. And he did it 3 times. He said, let fire come down. But he said, if you anointed me to be king, he said, come refuge under my shade. Yahushua said, come unto me all that are heavy laden and burning, I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon me and learn upon me. For I'm meek and lowly, you'll find rest for your soul. Come take refuge under my shade. Let's see. So the word for, I say the bramble is atad, right? Atad, it means bramble, thorn. Thorn, threshing, atad, meaning thorn. To pierce, to make fast, to thorn. The bramble, blackhorn, the bramble thorns. Thorns. This is Oriah Luke 22:39. And it says, and he went out and he came out and went. And it was his custom to the Mount of Olives. And the disciples followed him. And when he came to the place, he said to them, pray that you may not enter into temptation. And he withdrew from them about a stone throw, and threw down and knelt down and prayed, saying, Abba, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Remove this cup from me. And thus you shall eat all the days of your life. Then he what he said to the serpent? Nevertheless, not my will, but yours will be done. And there appeared to him a Malach from Shamayim, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat became like the great drops of blood falling on the ground. Then he said, from the sweat of your brow, from the sweat of your nose, from the ground, from the Adama, you shall bring forth, from dust thou shalt return. And he told Adam that. And guess what? The sweat came out like drops of blood, and it hit the ground. Guess what it became? Adama. He said, this is your punishment, Adam. So who is she doing it for? He's doing this for Adam. And when he arose from his prayer, he came to the disciples and found them sleeping for sorrow. Isn't that what Adam and Kuah had when they came out the gun? Sorrow. Yeshayahu wrote, he said he was a man of sorrows acquainted with grief. And we hid it as was our faces from him. That's why when Yahushua came to Adam, he said, where are you, Adam? And he hid himself in the oaks and the trees. He said, where are you? Have you eaten from the tree that I command you not to eat? Who told you were naked? And he says to him, why are you sleeping? Rise and pray, that you may not enter into temptation. So this is Matthew 26:7. And the woman came up to him with an alabaster flask and a very expensive ointment, and she poured it on his head, and he reclined at the table. Oh, you mean he anointed the bramble tree? Shall you indeed reign over it? He said, come and rest under my shade. He had a thorn tree. Didn't he tell Adam thorns and thistles? Or coats and briars? And when the disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, why is this waste? For this could have been sold for large sums and given to the poor. But Yahushua, aware of this, said to them, why do you trouble the woman? She anointed the bramble tree. He's going to indeed reign over us. He said, everybody going to bow under my shade. You mean under the shadow of his wings. Because that's what happens when you under a tree. It brings a shadow when the sun shines on it. When 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst. You're in the shadow. For she has done a beautiful thing. That's why Shanym says, this way of mine is beautiful. He wrote in ODE 7. He said, this way of mine is Yafa, beautiful. For you have always the poor with you, but you will not always have me. In pouring this ointment on my body, she has prepared me for my burial. For truly I say to you, wherever this truth is proclaimed in the world, what she has done will also be done in memory of her. Ashar, Adar, she a helper in the gun, thorns and thistles. What she was doing? She was anointing the bramble tree. She was a helper in the garden. She was a helper, Azar. She said, see, vision. What she was doing? See, sword, knife, rest, law, word, perfection. She was fulfilling the word and perfecting Yahushua Mashiach. And she was doing it for the Rosh, which was Yahushua Mashiach, the head. Yahushua Mashiach. Azar. It says, in pouring this ointment on my body, she has prepared me for my burial. Truly I say to you, wherever this truth is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will also be told in memory of her. This is Matthew 27:27. Then the soldiers and the governors took Yahushua into the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him, and they stripped him and put on a scarlet robe on him, and twisting together a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and put a reed in his head. Thorns and thistles you shall bring forth from the sweat of your brow, from the sweat of your nose that hits the ground. For dust thou art, dust thou shalt return, because you listened to the voice of your Ashar. Or you mean, you listened to the voice of Satan. Right? Because seed, how you say it, when seed is sown, seed travels. It says, and kneeling before him, they mocked him. People wonder why Qahalath says, when he was speaking in the book of Ecclesiastes, he said what? A woman I was looking for, and a man I could not find. He was looking for somebody to make up the hedge, to fill in this gap, to do something. But everybody is at ease. The woman at ease, thorns and briars and thistles, everything running wild. The man lazy, ain't doing nothing. Then guess what Yahushua say? Lo, I come in the volume of the book. I got to come do it myself. It is written of me to do thy will. Because the will of him was to what? To work, to keep the garden, to be a servant in the garden. He says, and they spit on him and took a reed and struck him on the head. He said, what did he say? It's a bone. Rabbah, Rabbah, I'm going to multiply your pain in childbearing. I'm going to multiply your pain. They struck him on the head. I'm going to multiply your pain in childbearing. And they spit on him and took a reed and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of his robe and put on his own clothes and led him away to be crucified. He said, why would you put a crown of thorns on the head and put a reed in his hand? Because you're going to anoint him to be ruler over you, like the bramble bush, like the bramble tree. The bramble tree. This is Acts 1:16. And the scripture had to be fulfilled, which the Kudash Ruach spoke beforehand by the mouth of David, concerning Judas, who became guide to those who arrested Yahusha. Why did they have to arrest him? Because in much pain, he was going to bring forth, I say, it's a bone, Rabbah, Rabbah, like Tekoa, Rabbah, Rabbah. What was Tekoa? Rabbah, Rabbah. In pain, you shall bring forth a child. And your desire shall be heard. He shall mashal over you. Right? And he arrested him. Because you see today, when men get arrested, each get arrested, what's going to happen? It ain't going to be nothing good. This is Luke 22:63. Now the men who were holding Yahusha in custody, because that's exactly what they do. They arrest you and they take you into custody. Were mocking him as they beat him. That's the same thing happened to Yahusha. It says they blindfolded him and asking him, Nabah, who is it that struck you? In pain you shall bring forth child. In pain, thorns and thistles. You shall work with the sweat that drops to the ground. For dust thou art, dust thou shalt return. It's about. This is the pain of Adam and Kuah. He's suffering right now. And it says, they also blindfolded him and asking him, Nabah, who it is that struck you? And they said many other things against him, blaspheming him. This is Devarim 25:11. When men fight with one another, and the wife of the one draws near to rescue her husband from the hand of him who is beating him, because the woman, the Isha is supposed to be, the Isha is supposed to be an Azar to the Ish, a helper. And she see her husband getting beat, she need to know how to fight and beat this person off of him. But today, men get arrested, and then they go into custody because of the Isha. And guess what? She ain't coming to rescue him. You know why? And it says, and puts out her hand and seizes him by his private parts, because you're going to do it by any means necessary. The only reason, because you ain't going to do it by any means necessary. Then guess what happens? Then you shall cut off her hand. Because if she and puts out her hand and seizes his private part, then you shall cut off her hand. Your eyes shall not have no pity. Here's Yahusha getting beat. Here's Yahushua getting struck. He was arrested, taken into custody, and he getting beat by other men. And his Ashar ain't doing nothing. His Ashar, his aid, ain't doing nothing. Because you know why? Because she's at ease. Thorns and thistles, just like Yeshayahu wrote. Thorns and thistles, and she don't care for other people's children. Because he was the son of Yahuwah. She don't care. She careless. A none. Right? And says and your eyes shall have no pity. Right? Because you know why? Matthew 5:30. And if your right hand calls you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. That's the only reason. She didn't want her right hand cut it off. She didn't want to suffer nothing. Because she didn't want to get those people off beating her husband. Why? Because she has no pity. She don't want her hand cut off. Because it's going to cause her to sin. It says, for it was better that you lose one member than that your whole body be cast into hell. So it was better that she put her hand out and got these people off from beating Yahushua Mashiach. You mean he like in Yashar, the commonly delicate woman. It would be better that she did that than her whole body get cast into the lake of fire because she did nothing because they're at ease. Because the men are lazy, the women are lazy, Yehuda and Jerusalem. They all are at ease. They thorns and briars and thickets. That's why he had them on his crown and his thorns on his head. They left off the gun. They're not servicing the gun anymore. They left it off. And they don't care about nobody else's children. He said, when Pharaoh said, when you see a male child, he said, kill him. And that's exactly what they do. They kill the man. They kill the sons. Right. This is Psalm Talim 22 and 14. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melting within my breast. My strength is dried up like the potsherd, and my tongue sticks to my jaws. He's thirsty. You lay me in the dust of death. Dust thou art, dust thou shalt return. For dogs encompass me, a company of evildoers encircle me. They have pierced my hands and my feet, thorns and thistles. Thorns and briars. A sluggard think he more wiser than 7 men who give an answer. Right? And it says, guess what? The evildoers encircle me. They have pierced my hands and my feet, and I can count all my bones, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called Ashar. For she was taken out of the man. They stare and gloat over me. They divide my garments among them. And for my clothing they cast lots. But you, Yahuwah, do not be far off. O my help, come quickly to my aid. Deliver my soul from the sword. Because the aid that he's supposed to have, Adar, the Ashar, the bride, Yehuda, Jerusalem, Yasharal, those people, these Ish and Isha who are lazy and got thorns and briars and all these things, and they don't care about somebody else's children and son, guess what? They ain't no help anymore. Guess what he said? Deliver my soul from the sword. Now that same sword that the Isha was supposed to use to help her husband, or to help the Ish, she's now using it to kill him. He said, my precious life from the power of the dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion. You have rescued me from the horn of the wild ox. All the animals in the gun coming after him to kill him. Even the Isha. So all the things that Adam or Ish was over in the gun, that he was being a servant over, he was being a worker, and he was observing the commands, guess what? All the animals and the Isha, his help and his aid, they all trying to kill him. Cursed shall be the ground for thy sake. Thorns and thistles, Adam. You should eat from it all the days of your life. You should eat the plants of the field. For dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. Yahushua Mashiach, right? Tahalim 69 and 6. Let not those who hope in you be put to shame through me. Can't be put to shame. Yahuwah, all of hosts, let not those who seek you be brought to dishonor through me. O Elohim Yasharal, for it is you for your sake that I have borne reproach, that dishonor has covered my face, and I have become a stranger to my brothers. This is because of you, Yahuwah, and stranger to my mother's sons. For zeal of their house has consumed me, and the reproaches of those who reproached you have fallen on me, Adam and Kuhl, the serpent, and the Nakash. They are all falling on Yahushua Mashiach. When I wept and humbled my soul with fasting, it became my reproach. When I made sackcloth my clothing, I became a byword to them. I am the talk of those who sit at the gate, and the drunkards make songs about me. But as for me, my prayer is to you, O Yahuwah, and at the acceptable time, O Yahuwah, all in the abundance of your steadfast love, answer me in your saving faithfulness. Deliver me from the sinking mire. Let me be delivered from my enemies and from the deep waters. Let not the flood sweep over me, or the deep swallow me up, or the pit close its mouth over me. Answer me, O Yahuwah, for your steadfast love is good. According to your abundant mercy, turn to me. hide your face from your servant, for I am in distress. Make haste to me. Make haste to answer me. Draw near to my soul. Redeem me, ransom me because of my enemies. You know my reproach and my shame and my dishonor. My foes are all known to you. Because Yahuwah is 10,000 times brighter than the sun. He said, reproaches have broken my heart. He took that heart of stone. He took that heart of stone. He said, I'm going to make it a heart of flesh. I'm going to make you tender-hearted. He said, reproaches have broken my heart. That's the only way a person's heart can be broken today, and he can give you a heart of flesh. He got to break your heart. He got to break your heart. So that I am in despair. That's the only way. I looked for pity, and there was none. I looked for comforters, but I found none. He looked for pity, somebody to help him. There was nobody there. It says, they gave me poison for my food, and for my thirst, they gave me sour wine. This second Ezra 4:40. So he answered me and said, go thy way to a woman with child, and ask her when she hath fulfilled her 9 months. Because you know when he said, Rabah, it's a bone, you shall bring forth the Yalet. And your desire shall be to your husband, your longing shall be to your husband, and he shall rule over you. Ashar. It says, if her wound may be, it says, and ask her when she hath fulfilled her 9 months. That's what happens. If her wound may keep the birth any longer within her. Right? This is Matthew 27:45. Now from the 6th hour, there was darkness over the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Yahushua cried out with a loud voice, Aliyah, Aliyah, Lama Sabbath. That is, my Elohim, why hast thou forsaken me? Isn't that what Kuhul did when she got cast out of the gun? When she realized she thought Adam was dead? She cried out with a bitter cry. When Adam got cast out, he cried out with a bitter cry when he saw the sun shine on his skin for the first time. When they saw their skin change to another form, they cried out. They cried out with a loud cry. When Adam realized where he was, he cried out, and his wife thought he was dead. And he was like, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders hearing it said, this man is calling for Aliyah. Who? And one of them at once ran and took a sponge and filled it with sour wine. They gave me poison for my food. I looked for pity and I found none. Rabah. I will greatly multiply your pain in childbearing. It's 9th hour. This is for cool. I'm going to greatly multiply your in childbearing. And you shall bring forth a child. And it says, and at once he ran and took the sponge and filled it with sour wine and put on a reed and gave it him to drink. He gave me poison for my food. So that same woman, that Isha in the gun, who he gave the punishment to, that gave poison to her husband for his food, he now taking that poison for himself. He now taking that same poison. He willingly taking that, just like Adam did. He willingly laying down his life. It says, but the other said, wait, let's see whether Aliyah will come and save him. And Yahushua cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up the Ruach. In the second book of Adam and Kuah, in the Adam and Kuah ordeal with Satan, what did he say? Kuah said, and if you don't raise him back to life, he said, just like Adam died, he said, let us die the same day. She said, let us die the same day. That one cry was for Adam, and the one cry was for Kuah. Let us die the same day. For it's because of you, because of me, Yahuwah. For you made me from his bone, you made me from his rib. You made me from him. You formed and shaped me from him, but it was because of me, and I listened to the voice of the serpent that we are in this transgression. So if he's going to die, and if you don't bring him back to life, and if you don't, he said, let me die with him the same day. For the two shall become one. And when they die together, they die as Adam. They die as Adam. For this cause shall a man leave his mother and father, or her leaving her mother and father, and they cleave to his Ashar, and they shall be a Qad. Aleph, Kath, and Daleth, which equals to 13. Was equal to Yahushua Mashiach. They shall be one. Yuchanan 19:28. And after this, Yahushua, knowing all that was now finished, said, to fulfill the scripture, I thirst. A jar full of sour wine stood there. So they put on a sponge full of sour wine and hyssop and branch and held it to his mouth. And when Yahushua had received the sour wine, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ruach. He gave up the ruach. Right? So this Kazum, Revelations 2:2. I know your works and your toil and your patient endurance. Your works, your toil. Well, this is all a garden in the garden. I gave it to you what? To abide, be a servant, to work, to keep, to do. I gave you statutes, things to do. He said, your toil, your work, and your patient endurance. And how you cannot bear those who are evil, Ra, and have tested those who call themselves Shalakim and are not, and found them to be, Kazab or Shakir, liars, untruth. I know that you are enduring patiently and bearing up my name's sake, and you have not grown weary. But I have this against you. Man, woman, Isha, all those who are under the sound, that you have abandoned the love you had at first. You mean the love that he said, those who keep the mystery and Amunah, those who love, and those who love me. He said what? I will never turn my face to those who I know. But he says, you abandon the love you had at first. In the beginning. He said, remember therefore where you have fallen, Adam and Kuah. Adam and Kuah, Ish and Isha. Repent and do the works you did at first. If not, I will come to you and remove your lampstand from its place, unless you repent. This I have, this I have, you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, which I also hate. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Ruach says to the body, the congregation, to the people. To the one who conquers, I will grant to eat from the tree of life. Where's that at? In the garden. In the garden. You know that tree that he never told Adam he couldn't eat from? You know the one he bypassed, Kuah bypassed, to go eat from the knowledge of good and evil? Which is in paradise of Yahuwah Elohim, in the garden. You know, they're talking about eating. I get to eat from that. This is Yuchanan 12:27. Now is my soul troubled. And what shall I say? Abba, save me from this hour. For this purpose I have come to this hour. Abba, kabod your name. Then a voice came from Shanym. I have glorified it, kaboded, and I will kabod it again. When Yahushua cried out twice, what he said? And gave it the ruach. He cried out twice. We mean Rabbah. Muth. You shall surely die. He did it again. Rabbah, Muth. And he cried out once for Adam, when Kuah thought he was dead, and then Kuah cried out again, because she died the same day. Let us die the same day. In pain you shall bring forth children. Right, so here we go. It says, the crowd that stood there heard it and said, it had thundered. The others said, a malach had spoke to him. And Yahushua answered, this voice has come for your sake, not mine. Now is the judgment of this world. Now will the rulers of this world be cast out. And I, when I am lifted up from the Arats, will draw all people to myself. And he said this to show what kind of death he was going to die. So the crowd answered him, we have heard from the Torah that Mashiach remains forever. How can you say that the son of Adam or man must be lifted up? Who is the son of Adam or man? So Yahusha said to them, the light is among you for a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, or lest darkness overtake you. The one who walks in darkness does not know where he is going. Walk while you have the light. While you have the light, believe in the light, or that you may become the sons of light, or the Beni of light, of Or. All right, so you look at all that, just like Yeshayahu 32, when we just read about the women of Aydah and all the other men and Ishas and all these and all the gone attributes. It says, and the effect of righteousness will be peace, shalom, and the result of righteousness, quietness and trust forever. Forever. Right? That's the effect of it. Shalom, quietness, and trust forever. When everybody's not at ease anymore. When everybody's on their, each and each child is doing their job in the God. It'll be shalom. It'll be quietness. It'll be trust forever. You'll be, how you say, when the Ruach is poured out upon you. It won't be in at ease and quietness when everything's in thorns and disarray. Now there'll be peace and quietness and trust forever with everything in order. In order. So this Dead Sea Scrolls, column 6, 4Q 257. These are the paths of the world to enlighten the heart of man, each man and woman, to straighten out in front of him all the paths of justice, establishing his heart's respect for the precepts of Yahuwah Elohim in the Ruach of meekness, of patience, and generous compassion, eternal goodness, intelligence, understanding, potent wisdom, which trusts in all the deeds of Elohim Yahuwah and depends on his abundant mercy, a Ruach of knowledge in all plans of action, of enthusiasm of the decrees of justice and set-apart plans, with firm purpose and generous compassion, with all the sons of truth, of magnificent purity, which detest all unclean idols, of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything, of concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the Ruachs, of the spirits of the sons of truth. I'm going to put a new Ruach within you. I'm going to take away that stony heart and give you a heart of flesh. I'm going to reproach as it broke in my heart. Has Yahushua Mashiach's reproach that he suffered broken your heart yet? Has it pricked your heart like the thorn, like he was a thorn bush, a briar? Has he pricked your heart yet like a thorn pricked somebody's skin and pierced it? Right? It says, of careful behavior and wisdom in everything, of concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of knowledge. These are the foundations of the Ruach of the sons of truth in the world, and the reward of those who walk in it, Qahalath, will be healing, Rafah, plentiful peace, shalom. That's what happens when, that's the result of it. Peace, shalom, and trust. Right? Quietness. What does it say? Plentiful peace and long life. Fruitful offspring, Rabah. Fruitful and multiply with everlasting barak. In the Gan, eternal enjoyment and endless life, tree of life. And a crown of kabod with the majestic raiment and eternal light. You'll get your garments back, or how you say, your flesh, your celestial, body celestial, terrestrial, and body celestial. You get your celestial nature back. Or you'll lose it and come to the terrestrial nature and you realize, man, the sun is shining on my skin. The sun, what is this? The garden. Right? Usually, I've never seen this before. I've never seen it. Right? So, however, the Ruach of deceit belongs greed, sluggardness in the service of justice, wickedness, falsehood, pride. These are all things of laziness. Ish and Ishar. right? Haughty, and not a none, right? Haughtiness of heart. They at ease. They are thorn briars. All the animals going disarray. You at ease. People walking in this. Dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, much insecurity, impatience, much foolishness. Infinite enthusiasm for appalling acts and lustful passion. Filthy past in the service of impurity. Blasphemous tongue. That's what they did to Yahushua. Blasphemy. Thorns and briars and thorns and thickets. Yehuda and Jerusalem. Circumcise your heart. Take away the foreskin of your heart. Guess what it says? Hardness of hearing, stiffness of neck, hardness of heart, in order to walk in the paths of darkness and evil cunning and tohu, empty things. And the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundance of afflictions by the hand of the Malachim of destruction, thorns and thistles, and sweat of your brow. And pain you shall bring forth children. Scorching wrath and all human revenges, for permanent terror and shame, without end, and humiliation of destruction of the fire of the dark regions. In his humiliation done before his year, he opened not his mouth. He was like a lamb led for the slaughter. He bore all these sins. It says, by fire of the dark regions. Why do you think it was darkness over the land until the 6th and the 9th hour? Didn't he tell Adam? He said, don't let this darkness frighten you, because it's only going to be up here for 12 hours. It's going to be here for 12 hours. In the morning time, the day dawn, and the day start going to rise, and the sun going to rise. That's why it was darkness from the 6th to the 9th hour. That's what he said to Adam. He said, don't let it deceive you. Don't let the darkness deceive you. Eventually, the sun going to rise. And amazingly, the sun went down at noon, and the sun did rise. But it was Yahushua Mashiach on the stake, on totality, bearing his sin that he did. So for permanent terror and shame, without end, and humiliation, the destruction of the fire of the dark regions, and all the ages of their generations, they shall spend in bitter weeping. That's why they gave him sorrow. When he said bitter weeping, and then that way Adam and Kuo, they were just bitter and weeping the whole time, crying out. And they gave Yahushua sour wine. They gave me sour wine, bitter. He said, why you gotta eat the bitter herbs during the Pesach? Because that's what he ate. And amazingly, that's exactly what you're supposed to be eating in the garden. But that bitter that he was telling you to eat was actually the things that he gave me. It says, and harsh evils in the abyss of the darkness until destruction. That's why he died. It had to be destroyed, without there being a remnant or survivor for them. This is ODE Shalom, ODE 2. My heart was pruned. How was your heart pruned? By the sword, the knife, the wrestler of perfection, by the Azar, cutting for the chief, for the head. My heart was pruned and this flower appeared. That's why you prune a tree. That's why you prune a tree. Then Khan or grace sprang up in it. That's the only way things are going to spring up. That's why the women are at ease, the men are lazy, and they're not doing anything. Then nothing springs up. Everything is overgrown. Everything is overgrown. The animals, the donkeys, everything running wild. Nothing's in order. It says, and it produced fruits to Yahuwah. For Yahuwah circumcised me by his Kedush Ruach. He said, when the Ruach is poured upon you, that's in Yeshayah 32, he said, it's going to be quietness, shalom, and trust. Then he uncovered my inward being toward him and filled me with his love. His love, just like he talked about before. He said, those who love, who know me and love. He filled me with it. Love for the creatures, love for the animals, love for the fish of the sea, fowls of the air, the cattle, love for his land, love for plants and pruning, love for a neighbor, love for yourself, love your neighbors, you love yourself, love to be a servant, abad, and shamar, and observe the commandments in the garden. loving other people's children and sons, that Yahuwah may give families, loving, having even rising up and taking authority and dominion over the 50 fowls area, the creeping thing, the thorns and the briars, and cut them down for Adar, because that's what sprung up for his punishment. So as the Kuah and the helper in the gun, she has to help with the briars and the thorns. It says, for Yahuwah circumcised me with his Kedush Ruach. Then he uncovered my inward being toward him and filled me with his love. And his circumcising became my salvation. You mean his cutting, his pruning. And I ran in the way of his peace, his shalom. I ran. It's like a son sees a father, a daughter sees her father. She runs to her father when she first sees him, like a child. From the beginning, guess what it says? From the beginning unto the end, I received his knowledge. Hearken to me, my children, and receive the instructions. Children, receive the instructions. Ode Shalom 7:18-28. And the Most High, Yahuwah, shall be known in his Kedush, in his saints, to announce to those that have songs of the coming of Yahuwah, that we may bring forth to meet him. We may sing to him with joy, simcha, and with harps in many tones. The seers shall come before him, and they shall be seen before him, and they shall praise Yahuwah for his love. This is your love of Yahuwah, that he sent his only begotten Ben. For Elohim, Yahuwah so loved the world that he gave his only son. Because he is near and he holdeth, and hatred shall be taken from the earth. Hatred. And along with jealousy it shall be drowned. For ignorance has been destroyed. Ignorance has been destroyed, because the knowledge of Yahuwah hath arrived. They who make songs shall sing of the kind of Yahuwah Most High, and they shall bring their songs, and their heart shall be like the day, and like the excellent beauty of Yahuwah their present song. And there shall neither be anything that breathes without knowledge, nor anything that is dumb. They will be mute. For he hath given a mouth to his creation, to open the voice of the mouth towards him, to praise him. Confess ye his power. You just said, if you don't confess me before men, I won't confess you before my Abba. He said that the teaching of the totality is foolishness to them that perish. For us that are saved is the power of Yahuwah. It's like they have the He-Man. I have the power. It's foolishness to them that perish. For us that are saved is the power. Confess ye his power, and show forth his kind. Hallelujah. This Essene, Book of Yahusha, 7 folds of peace. It says, as the sheaf of the golden wheat lieth hidden within the tiny kernel, so is the Malkuth of Shamayim hidden within our thoughts. The kingdom, the gun, everything is hidden in your mind. If they be filled with the power of love, the power of love and wisdom of the Malakim of Shamayim the Father, so they carry us into the heavenly sea. But if they be stained with corruption and hatred and ignorance, ignorance has been destroyed. And hatred, working together with Satan, and corruption of his seeds, and his craftiness and his wickedness, they're gone. He says they shall chain our feet. He said, if it's stained with that, they shall chain our feet to pillars of pain and suffering. No man can serve two masters. You can't serve hatred, ignorance, and corruption, and power and love and wisdom at the same time. Neither can evil thought abide in the mind with the light of the Torah. It cannot. He who have found peace with the mind have learned to soar beyond the realm of the Malachim. You have learned the fear of Yahuwah. You have learned the mystery. You have learned Amunah. And you have love. Ahab, Fikri, Amor, Ahumble, Libe. You have love for your children. You have love for other people's children. You have love for your neighbor. You have love for your wife. You have love for your husband. You have love for your family. You have love for your mother. You have love to your father. You have love to your enemies. You have love to the creatures, the animals. You don't eat flesh. You don't destroy those creatures. You have love for the fish of the sea, the cattle, fowls of the air. You have love for the ant, the smallest creature that Yahuwah even created. You have love for everything. You have a hab for all things. Guess what it says? Know this shalom in your heart, in thy heart. Fulfill this shalom with thy body. Why? Because the results of the Ruach being poured out, and everyone at ease, and everyone putting off the ways of Satan. Guess what happens? The result of that is quietness, shalom, peace, and trust. Not only trust in Yahuwah, but you start trusting each other. Because everyone has the same mind. You start trusting each other. That's why Yahushua was able to give the cat that he had helped to the woman. Because he trusted her. He was able to give it to her. That's why Yahuwah was able to give. That's why he was able to do certain things and entrust the truth with the shalakim. Because he trusted them. That's why he's able to give certain gifts to certain people, because he trusts them. And that's what happens amongst everyone. Right? So, as we move forward, we continue to live our life, our kind, but to walk in the steps in the beginning. Let what you've heard in the beginning abide in you. If what you've heard in the beginning abides in you and you receive it, you will be in the bin and in the Ab, the Father and the Son, the strength of the house and the life of the house. For the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth.